And now, live from the Man Cave, Studio B, deep in the heart of constitutional Livingston County, Michigan, on a Tuesday night Independence Ramble, with your co-host, Patrick Acton's in the house, Teddy Bester's here, yours truly, Larry Parsons. This is My Brain. Now your host, Jeremy Scott Gibbs. No Di bottles were thrown during this announcement yet.
I was going to go ahead and put the word "yet" in there. No diesel Rona bottles have been thrown yet during the. Make sure your pack's on, Larry. Pack's on, pack's off. My good friend, my little green friend. Welcome everybody. Welcome.
Wow. Can you hear me now? Now that I got the batteries put in right, somebody put them in upside down.
That would have been me.
Yeah.
That'd be me. Everybody hit your thumbs up, man, as you're getting in here, man.
Can you hear me now?
Can you hear me now? Get your thumbs up in there, man. Get them all up in there. What you look for, Vince? Vince over there off the wings. He's off the side. He's down there in the side. Well, welcome, gentlemen. Let's see if my buttons are working grand. Good, great, grand. Get on the bus. Anybody ever see that? Billy Madison?
I have not.
I'd play the clip, but we would get a copyright strike because we promoted somebody else's stuff for free. I don't understand how you can get a copyright strike.
Did we get a copyright strike last week for all the South Park stuff?
You know, I never checked it. I never checked the email, so I have no idea. It's so stupid.
Yeah.
You get a copyright strike. We don't make any money off YouTube.
No.
How are you giving me a copyright strike if I'm not making anything off of it and I'm literally talking over it? It's fair use. It's the epitome of fair use. You're just doing it to be an asshole.
Yes.
Yeah. There's plenty of those out there.
Hey, Vince, I just thought of it. We got to add an A-bomb to the game. That's code for asshole.
Yes.
It's not working on a game. It's going to be fun. We're going to play it, videotape it, share it with you good folks on the channel. Where's my people? Usually guys are blowing up the chat. What are you doing? Watching Dinesh D'Souza? D'Souza and Nick Fuentes?
It's probably what Mr. Bovey's doing right now instead of watching us.
You better get off that. You can watch that band video later. I need live chat, man. I need live chat with you crazy people out there. Anyways.
Can Larry get some crazy people in the chat?
Can Larry get some crazy people in the chat? What's Larry doing? He's posting the show now that we're live.
He does that.
He does that.
Yep.
It's an Independence Day Ramble.
Because we talk on and on.
Because we just ramble. And I'm like, dude, we haven't ranted in a long time. We just ramble on. Especially me. And we ramble from one topic to the next. And I'm like, when I first started the show, we would rant a lot. Like just, let me tell you this. This really pissed me off. And then it's really tapered off. So I was like, I want people, I'm waiting for everybody to get in chat because then
I was accused of being angry. You know, people were like, that guy's angry. He's out of control. So I dialed it back.
Yeah. Now we just ramble.
Now he just sleeps.
That's because you're eating them ribs. How about them ribs?
Those ribs were good.
That was a
Pretty
great
good.
rack of lamb. I enjoyed it.
Yes.
Good job, Larry.
Tasty.
Way to discern. Ribs, corn on the cob, mac and cheese, signature salad.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
We had it all kicking tonight. All four cylinders were firing. It's pretty good.
Eating all that mac and cheese, you got to have some salad to kind of keep you going.
Yeah, right. I went back because I love corn on the cob. I love doing it. You guys know I like to do that, but I go, what do I go? What goes? I love like corn on the cob. I love to do like potatoes and stuff like that, but sometimes it can just get too heavy.
Yep.
Even the mac can get a little heavy. But then I can't just do corn on the cob and then just the salad. We got to have really 4 course.
Yeah.
4 main dishes to balance it. I think it's a good balance on the plate.
Then I'm stuffed, and I had to top it off with a candy bar.
Chocolate.
Yeah, chocolate. It was just staring at me saying, "Eat me.
Eat me. Get out of my candy. Get out of the candy." All right. So we live now. We like to do that. All right, let's get into some disclaimers. Let me see if this is going to work over here. Yeah. Oh, I forgot to close that out. I will close that out now, because it seems to be connected. I'm going to California. Let's see if this works, guys. All right, let's go with this. Ready, Grandma?
Yeah. This is my brain. Notice, this show is mostly raw and unfiltered and completely politically incorrect. We say Merry Christmas and the Pledge of Allegiance, especially the part about one nation under God. We thank
Oh, shoot.
You shut it down.
troops for their service. We recognize only 2 genders.
Dangle, no dangle.
As adults, we enjoy adult beverages.
Cheers.
Cheers.
My water. Cheers.
Water.
We cuss.
Pop.
We do not
Seltzer.
curse
Ooh.
or swear, right, Larry? We love Jesus, but we hate religion and religious hypocrites. If any of this offends you, or if you want to make judgment without having the facts, leave now and save yourself a little heartache.
Do you mean like how we were slandered as a bunch of alcoholics driving on the road after the podcast?
And do you know that what we're actually drinking here? And who's the worst? It's probably you.
And you had the longest walk. You had the longest walk.
I have to walk 328 feet to the house from door to door.
Oh.
I just thought if we put...
All right, that's enough of that. Okay.
2 awesome voices that I miss.
Right? Teddy, I know this one's hard to read, but I want you to read it anyways. And then Patrick, you give me a decision between your two.
Maybe that one.
Yeah, buddy.
Great minds discuss ideas. Average minds discuss events. Small minds discuss people. Eleanor Roosevelt.
And I moved my buttons around and...
To argue with is whatever one you want to put up there.
Oh, to argue with? Okay.
Yeah.
I gotta find it. Why am I?
Oh, I can do it off the top of my head.
I know, but I gotta pull up the graphic. You know what? It's right. Look at where it's at. As I scroll up, it's on the top, and when I scroll down, it's on the bottom. It's like dead center. Stupid. Go, Patrick.
To argue with someone who has renounced the sense of reason is like administering medicine to the dead. That's my conversations with most Democrats these days.
Mm-hmm.
No reason whatsoever.
It's ridiculous.
And it's like having a conversation with the dead.
It is.
Dead brains.
Larry, go.
A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. That's the Second Amendment to the United States Constitution. It was issued on December 15th, 1791, and it expires never.
Yeah, but it's expanded now down in Florida. Governor DeSantis has expanded on it.
Right.
Whereas from September 8th through the end of the year,
Mm-hmm.
you can buy any firearm or ammunition Tax-free.
Oh, nice.
No
Nice.
tax in
No
Florida.
tax. Nice.
Yep. He's expanding on the Second Amendment. I think he needs people to be armed and dangerous in Florida. If these idiots decide they're going to have an uprising there, they're going to have a problem.
Exactly. Nice.
And
Nice.
the bigger the problem, the safer we are.
That's right.
100%.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, I think I'm going to do this one since it's an independence one. All right. Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it to our children in the bloodstream. It must be fought for, protected, and handed on to them to do the same. Ronaldus Magnus, the giver.
Yes. You ever tried to do his voice?
I have every once in a while. It takes a little bit of practice, but not a lot.
He's so soft-spoken.
I will never hold it against my opponent for their age. Remember that when he was a Dukakis or something like that?
Yeah, for their youth and inexperience.
Mm-hmm.
I like the story he tells about driving through the country, and he stopped at a farm and talked to a farmer, and the farmer said, "You know, we're all Democrats here. I've never met a Republican. I got to go get Ma. She's never met a Republican either." So I decided that I needed to find a platform to get up on so I could give a Republican speech. Well, the only thing I could find was one of those piles that the cows leave in the middle of the field. So I climbed up on the pile, and when Ma and the farmer came out, I gave them my Republican speech. And the Ma says, "You know, I've never heard a Republican speech before." And he said, "Yes, and I've never given a Republican speech from a Democratic platform before either."
Nice. Ronaldus Magnus. All right, gentlemen, ready? Never apologize and never explain. It's a sign of weakness.
Weak.
And I think that people out here would do well, if you're watching, to understand that apologies do nothing with these monsters.
There it is. And we're through the disclaimers in record time tonight. Oh, sweet. My neighbor's tuning in tonight. Said, finally verified, and I can send messages. This is the neighbor. Hope everyone is having a good day, and now I can relax and just listen. Awesome, dude. Good to see you on here, bro.
This the neighbor with the chickens?
No, we've got the chickens.
Oh, you got the chickens.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they got a couple dogs, and
They got dogs.
Yeah.
To chase the
which I've
chickens.
met them once or twice.
Okay.
But yeah, welcome, bro. All right, let's get into this crazy show. The quote for this evening comes from John F. Kennedy, JFK, assassinated by the bankers, Israel and the CIA. And maybe a little mafia help, but I think they were just hired. Anyways, this nation was founded by men of many nations and backgrounds. It was founded on the principles that all men are created equal, and the rights of every man are diminished when the rights of one man is threatened.
Yep.
John F. Kennedy. I thought that was a very good quote.
Yes.
It's a nice one, huh? The rights of every man are diminished when the rights of one man are threatened. And what are the rights, Larry? What's one of the rights you like, Larry?
The right to keep and bear arms.
Hmm.
See my bare arms?
Yeah.
Pretty wild.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get it. Where do we want to? Here's the thing. You guys got planned for the 4th of July?
I live on a lake, and the thing always becomes, it just becomes a party.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Party
So
time.
I'll just be hanging out at home.
Yeah, we had fireworks at Lake Tyrone over the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Good news is there was no icebergs.
Okay.
No icebergs?
Yeah.
Where you lose your weapons?
Yeah. So nobody struck an iceberg and sunk their boat and lost all their firearms.
Yeah.
My buddy is not tuned in, but his wife, he backed in, did a bunch of stuff, unloaded salt at the house, and then he says his wife then goes to back out of the driveway and just scrapes right down the side of the vehicle on the mailbox.
Oh, shit.
So we're hearing this story in the locker room. We're like, oh, man, dude, what the hell? And he's like, yeah, well, it was the new mailbox that Matt, our other buddy, put in because he had taken it out earlier. So I was like, seems like the placement of this mailbox is not ideal if you're driving.
Yeah.
So he was texting his wife back, and he's like, not like she like just hit it. It was like this big long scrape along the side. So he's sending her Titanic memes. Like, I didn't see the huge iceberg looming until it was too late.
Yeah, the Livingston County plow truck has taken out my mailbox 3 times. And I called them the last time.
Just yours, Larry?
They came out and looked at it.
Just yours?
Yes.
Not the other neighbors?
No, just mine.
I'm going to suspect that has something to do with you.
So I called him and he said, well, it looks like to me that the snow hit it from the plow, so it don't count.
Nice. Okay.
It don't count.
Yeah.
So you go, okay, then. I will make sure to write it down that you are awarded no points for mailbox trashing this side.
Yeah.
Might get their attention then.
But that's the way the road commissions are. I've had several conversations with them in Genesee County where they decided to raise the road about 6 inches when they resurfaced it. And as a result, the water runs right down the side of the road and makes a right-hand turn, goes down my driveway and tears out my entire side yard every time, major gullies. And I've gotten tired of it. And so I, call them up and they're like, well, when the water, the water crossing your property is your problem. I said, the water's coming off of your road down my side yard. They said, well, that's not our problem. I said, okay, fine. I'm going to deal with it myself then. So I go out there with a pickaxe and dig a big trench going on the shoulder of the road going down into a ditch. Well, you're not supposed to do that either. Well, you know what? That's not my problem because, it's your
And you know what? If you went into the county and wanted permits and everything like that, they would ride your ass relentlessly to make sure you had all of your topography and drainage all set up and all nice and perfect. And yet they'll pull shit like that.
Yeah.
Well, you guys, none of you come from the south to come here, right?
I do. Oh, no, I come from the north.
Yeah.
All right.
The lake at the end of the road, they did something 10 years ago with a bunch of calcium putting on the road and everything like that. Killed all the fish in that lake.
Oh, wow.
Killed it all off. Anybody take responsibility for that?
No. My neighbor next door was an attorney, and he decided to take issue with him about the same thing because he was having the same problem.
Mm-hmm.
And since he's an attorney and he has the ability to litigate this thing, and he had filed suit against him, and he's made it really clear that I'm just going to bombard you constantly with one litigation after another, till you do something. So they decided to come out and do something. They put this little curb in going across his driveway and down into the ditch, and that's it. It's as far as they went with it.
Wow.
And you did it with a pick.
I did with a pickaxe, yeah.
Nice. Larry, what do you got planned for?
Ah.
If you guys haven't looked at a calendar, if you're clueless, the 4th of July is technically actually this year on Friday.
On Friday, yeah.
And so I mentioned there's a lot of stuff going on Friday. There's a lot of stuff going on Saturday.
Yep. So last Saturday we had our fireworks at our lake, and this Saturday with the fireworks up at the campground.
Okay, nice.
So I imagine we will make it up there at some point.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know when. Maybe
Where's
Thursday.
the campground?
Davidson.
Okay.
Yeah, when he's like, I'm going up north. I'm like, Flint's not up north, bro.
It is for him.
It is for me. It's as far north as I want to go. Well, sometimes I go to Frankenmuth.
I grew up 10 minutes east of Frankenmuth for like the better part of 20 years.
I love Frankenmuth.
And so when people go, yeah, I'm going up north. And I go, where are you going? Oh, Mount Morris. I'm like, what? Like they make a special trip to, I'm like, when I say we're going up north, my grandfather used to take me damn near to Wisconsin. We were, Ironwood, Michigan is 1/3 Hurley, Wisconsin. So I mean,
see, we had something planned, but somebody else kind of screwed us on it. But we want to go up. We hear there's waterfalls up in the UP.
There's only one official waterfall, natural waterfall, in the Lower Peninsula, and there are hundreds in the UP.
Oh, there's hundreds in the UP.
Yep.
Well, we want
sometimes there's probably about 50 or 60 major waterfalls.
Yeah.
And then there's hundreds of other ones that you like have to have the secret map to trek into.
But anyways, Pat, this really nice guy is helping me out by fixing the battery charger on my motorhome.
Sounds like a dick.
Yeah. So once that's fixed, we'll get that in there, and then I have to research the problem because it's supposed to also charge when I'm going down the road.
Yeah.
But something's not right, so maybe there's a part or something I got to order and replace. But getting tires on our motorhome, and we were going to travel this 4th of July, but the mortgage company has taken 45 days to give us a home equity loan.
It's kind of crazy.
That's a long time.
45 stinking days.
Yeah.
45 stinking
It's usually
days.
something can be done quite quickly because it's a home equity loan on a piece of property you've owned for a long time, and obviously you're not going to walk away from it. So what's the concern? Why so long?
Incompetence.
Yeah, exactly.
At this point, it can only be incompetence.
Yeah.
Right. They're chiming in. Paradise, Michigan is my up north. Grandparents have a home. They're 10 minutes from the falls, and they live right on Lake Superior.
See, that's cool.
Tequamanon.
Michigan is the only state where in just a few hours you can go straight to hell and paradise.
Yep.
Not only that, then you could head right over to Christmas and hit Gibbs City.
No,
There's a Gibbs City?
That's the important one. Gibbs City.
That must be where all the gay people live.
It is.
I will take your assessment.
Oh, wait a
Larry.
minute. I got to strike that. My mom's last name is Gibbs.
Yeah, you dumbass.
But she doesn't live in Gibbs City.
Could be Saugatuck then.
Yeah, I love going to, let's see. I almost switched I moved a bunch of buttons for myself for the ease of it and having fully
You can't remember where you put them.
there. So there's, I'm not Emerson. There's Paradise right there. And then there's Tequamanon State Park right over there. And so Matt's saying his family lives right with 10 minutes. Look at that. It's gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. We haven't been up there since just before, so 12 years. My grandkids were still in the womb, and I'll tell you what, that year and then the previous trip when my kids were real young, you just go to Tequamanon for like 2 days, and you get there, you set up camp, you do an afternoon there, and then the next day you take a cooler of sandwiches or whatever, and you just walk into the upper falls. The upper falls stretch out for like a really long ways, and you just play. You just, I mean, it's probably as wide as the building, wide as the man cave. So you're talking maybe 40 feet wide at most of it, and it's real shallow. And then you'll have these holes in the stone that these swirls had made, and you can be walking, and you can see it's.
That reminds me, since you said in the womb, today we're out on the job. Right, we're paving a driveway, and I hear a noise, and a possum got hit by a car, and it was obviously pregnant because it spit like little shrimp all over the road.
Oh, that's great, Larry. Thanks for sharing that.
We were just talking about some nice waterfalls, and Larry's like,
"Yeah,
oh, guys, I saw this possibly spit out these babies."
All right, so I'm going to switch back to this since Larry gave us that beautiful visual. I want to change up your guys' visual for that. Here it is. There's Tequamanon Falls State Park. There's the lower falls are right there, and there's actually if you guys have never been there, you can rent boats. And then there's there's the lower falls are right there, and then the upper falls. The water's funny. That's why it's throwing me off. But right in this area in the center of it, where you see that trail going off to the side there, that whole area you can just play in the water all day long. It's just as cool. Yeah. But if I zoom out, way out, and you look
Oh,
at
that's where are you? Oh, you're way up.
It's paradise right there.
Yeah, you're not too far from Sault Ste. Marie then.
No, it's right over there. The Sioux is over here.
Yeah, me and my wife went up there and we saw the SS Valley Camp up on Dry Dock.
Okay.
Little freighter that you can walk through.
Well, and this is the white above Paradise is Whitefish Point. That's where the Edmund Fitzgerald wreck it, the museum, Great Lakes Shipwreck Museum, and that's where the Edmund Fitzgerald is right off there.
What I remember most about the trip was my wife ordered this breakfast, and it was like English muffins with eggs and sauce on it. I forget what you call that. There's a name for it. Eggs,
Say it again.
Is it Eggs Benedict?
Eggs Benedict, yes.
Eggs Benedict. Okay.
It's, English muffin with eggs on it, and then there's sauce over the
Eggs
top.
Benedict.
Yeah. And she absolutely
It's a traitor,
hated it.
basically.
Yeah, she absolutely hated it. It was
It's because it's a traitor. I mean,
It's a traitor.
it's Eggs Benedict, Arnold, Benedict Arnold. You know, it's Eggs Benedict Arnold. I mean, it's a traitor.
Yeah.
It'll turn your back on yourself. I don't know what it is. Anyways, if you look all the way across over here, you see Ironwood, Michigan. That is where my family is from, where they grew up. And it's divided into Ironwood, Michigan, and you can see how big Ironwood is. And then Hurley, Wisconsin is right over here. Hurley, Wisconsin is extremely notorious in the 20s and 30s, even in the 40s, for its bootlegging routes. Sault Ste. Marie, Hurley, Wisconsin, and obviously Chicago. But that's where some of the that's where the Al Capone and a whole bunch of his people they traveled through there. And Hurley to this day, one side of the road is just bars and everything like that, and the other side of the road, that's Wisconsin. One side of the road is Michigan. The other side of the road, that's Wisconsin.
Yeah,
has all the strip clubs. And
I got to tell you, it's ridiculous. I'm in a bar with these guys. I order around for all my friends, and there was, how many of us were there?
It was you, me, Vince, and Ken, Big Ken.
Okay, it's 4 of us.
Right.
It was like $12. I'm like, for the whole round? And the bartender laughed, and a couple of people at the bar laughed, and said, he's not used to our prices. And I said, shit, at this price, I'm buying for the whole damn bar. You know? And I didn't spend over $30. And we had a lot of friends.
That was the one where I stood up and I went over to the bar and we sat there for a little while, and the bar was pretty much full. So maybe there was 12, 14 people at the bar.
How long ago was this?
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Remember me going on 3 now.
Yeah.
And we've actually got some video of it, not of the bar thing, but of the trip. But I'm sitting over there, and I look at Ken and look at you, and I looked at Vince. I goes, all right, watch this. And I walk over to the bar, and I get the bartender's attention, and I says, hey, you got a microphone or anything like that? She goes, yeah. She hands me a microphone. There's speakers up there. Goes, hey, how you guys doing? And everybody's like, yeah. And I'm like, well, we're from downstate. My family's originally from up here. And they're like, oh, a bunch of trolls. You bunch of trolls over there. like, yeah, but my family's from here. I said, they grew up here. My mom was born up here. You know, like that. And I said, listen, who's got the best story? And this guy, without skipping a beat, goes, you do. And I goes, no, I want to hear one of your stories. And we ended up hanging out there for what, 2-3 hours at least, just having a blast with the people up there.
Yeah, it was fun.
It was awesome. It was a great time up there, and can't wait to do it again.
Yes, we need to put that in. I already got my fishing license, so I'm ready to go.
Right? That is a fishing. When we go do that, we do fishing, touristing, and bar hopping.
And well, we also take our firearms out in the middle of the woods and blow shit up.
Yeah. I will attempt to find some. I will attempt to. Oh, sorry, Larry. You went back to the map and I changed it. You're quick on the spot. I will attempt to go to my Facebook and see if I can. Oh, dang it! I got to hit that button. The disclaim button goes back to just the screen behind me versus the wall disclaim goes to the wall disclaim. I got to figure out my buttons again. You know, I only do this once a week, maybe twice a week.
Yeah, I change them just to screw up the other host.
Exactly. I tried to consolidate them better. You see where they're at? I put the main ones that we need like in 3 rows.
Yes.
And I put all the other stuff where we don't need it necessarily. Anyway, so Larry's going to go up north.
Davison.
Teddy, what do you got going with the family and everybody? What you got anything special? Or are you gonna?
Well, I mean, I got the day off from work that day, so
That's a bonus.
But last year, 4th of July, me and my family went to Manistee for a few days.
Okay.
I've never been there. A lot of my family on my dad's side came from like Marquette and Big Bay and all that area.
Okay.
And I've just been, if I've ever been up there, it was either St. Ignace or Marquette, but Manistee was pretty cool. You ever been to Garden Peninsula at all? Fayette?
Trying to remember. I'm not thinking of the right one. I've been to quite a bit up there, but I'm trying to remember where that one's at. And I'm looking at the map while you're talking.
South.
Yeah, Manistee is. Where the hell am I? Scrolling out.
I see it.
Where?
Dead middle of the map. Go below.
There. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. So you're talking. There's Manistee right there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? In Manistee, we've stopped. There's a particular set of falls there that we've stopped at. Is it just before town or is it after? Because there's the Manistee River. Is that where the?
No, that's all like industrial stuff.
That's all
right
industrial stuff. I'm trying to think. There's a. That wasn't the big one that we stopped at. Remember that one, Patrick, where we walked like 500 flights of stairs to get down there?
I remember it.
Pre-season's Cathlo right there. When I was there, I was there a couple times. Really good food, really good perch.
So just so you guys see where we're at, we're looking at, the Paul Bunyan statue. Yeah. I've stopped there multiple times.
Oh yeah, we got a picture.
So were you talking? We took a picture there. What are you talking about? Were you?
So zoom out on the map.
Yeah.
More.
Okay.
A little bit more. Go down. To the left. That's the Garden Peninsula right there.
Right here.
Yep.
Right
If
at
you
the
keep
bottom.
going.
That's right here.
That's Garden right there. Oh. Go left. Go left. That's Garden right there.
Oh, okay, I see it.
Garden's nice.
Yep.
If you go down a little bit more.
Garden Bay.
Yep, Garden Bay. Okay. There's a pretty cool place. Go a little bit more left. Didn't go left, but a little bit more. So right there, Fayette. Fayette is like the largest, most intact ghost town in Michigan.
And they have a campground.
Yeah, it's a state park. There's a harbor where you can park your boats and stay there, and then they have a campground.
Okay.
But it was once a mining, big smeltery town.
Okay.
It was like a company town.
Mm-hmm.
And so they had all these people come in and only work for the company. They had company like currency, and there was like a company post office, and you could work for the company.
Oh, yeah,
and
company
the
store, yeah.
company would have a general store,
Mm-hmm.
so you could spend all your money that you make for the company,
Mm-hmm.
spend it on the company's goods.
Yeah.
The other thing they have up there is they have huge hamburgers.
Oh, right. Send that one to me. That Vince ate that whole thing.
Yeah.
So that one's cool. Larry, have you ever been to that one or no? You're just
I have. The only place I have been in the UP is to St. Marie. That is about to change.
So there, look at this one. This is the, in fact, it's saying the Fayette Historic Town Site, as young Teddy was saying there, that it's the whole area is historic. It's a state historic park, and basically it's and there's a ton of stuff like that. I love when we go. Okay, so that is the peninsula coming down there. It's pretty cool. I've never stopped in there. But when we go all the way up, we go to Houghton Hancock up there, and there is the Quincy Mine. I did it. I think I did it once with Mom and Tanya, and I did it once with Patrick and Vince and me. And the Quincy Mine up there it's a pretty kick-ass tour up there.
Yeah.
I can't believe you said Hancock.
Houghton Hancock. Houghton Hancock.
What I like to do when I'm up there, especially like the more remote parts, is just go to every single post office there and take a photo of it. Because they're like really, really small. And some of the towns, like Thompson, right before you get on the Garden, it's like a little general store, and then there's like a little like post office within it.
Yeah, half
the Salem, Michigan, they used to have a post office like that. They had a little general store.
Which one?
Salem, Michigan.
Oh, Salem, yep.
Yeah, they had a little general store, and in the corner of it, they had a post office, which was like the size of a closet.
Oh, yeah.
Where we go to camp, I'll go back to that. Where we go to camp over here, if you see the bigger map, there's Waters Meat right there. And you scroll in, there's a place called Paulding. And Paulding is it's basically the entrance to Bond Falls. There's the Bond Falls and the Bond Falls flowage. They've got a big power.
Any campgrounds around there?
Yep. There's a ton of campgrounds there. And we go like, the last time we were up there, we stayed at the.
There it is. It was our cabin right there.
They renamed. Oh, it's Running Bear.
That's
exact. Uptown Cabins now.
Well, I don't know.
It's the Running Bear Resort. They got some great little cabins there.
That was a cabin we stayed in.
They call them Uptown Cabins now, so they can charge more.
Maybe, but there's a whole bunch of you can camp around there. The crazy thing about being up there in that part of the UP, if it says state land, you can pull off the road and just park.
Can you?
Camp, yeah. The first year I was back up there after being away from it for several years, we found one of the campgrounds. In fact, I'll take you to the campground that
we're self-contained, so.
Yeah, so there's Robbins Lake is over here, Robbins Pond Campground, and there's actually only like 4 sites on the Robbins Pond. There's 4 sites in this turnaround right here, and then there's this Robbins Pond, and it's okay. It's got a swamp. It's got a little river coming out of it. Nothing much for fishing. We threw our lines in there a few times, but we walked across this whole, you can see the lighter landing strip. And we walked into the woods over here, and we just set up a bunch of chunks of wood on a log and stuff like that with our shotguns and pistols and just started shooting shit.
When you were in Marquette, did you ever go to Phil's 550? Right by Big Bay?
Not that I recall. So we stayed there at Robbins, and then if you drive back down to Waters Meat, over here, there is the Welcome Center right here on US 2. Right here, it's the Ottawa National Forest Visitor Center. So we hit that visitor center on the way out. That was like, 6-7 years ago. Me and Vince and my buddy Nate. And we went in there and we're like, what can we do, man? What can we, what can we go? So what do you want to do? I said, well, we're looking to camp, and he goes, okay, well, and they're Upers. They're like, well done, don't stay more than like 2 weeks. Yeah. We're like, okay. I'm like, how many people can we?
I got an anonymous tip from a listener.
Yeah.
She says, hey, make sure you mention on your podcast that the SEIU, which is the union Casey Hilton works for, is heavily funding all of the protests. Thank you to the tipster that supplied that information.
Okay. So anyways, we're in the visitor center, and I said, how long can we stay? And they said, well, like anything over, because we're looking down in the States, down here, I'm guaranteed Larry goes to the campground. You got to fill out a paper. You got to do your thing. You got to check in. You got to check out. Yeah. They only give you so much time. Up there in the Ottawa National Forest, if it's not a designated, somebody owns it.
Yeah, you can camp there.
You can camp there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how long can you camp? And they're like, camp for 2 weeks. I'm like, how many people are you gonna have? I'm like, well, no more than 10. He's like, cool. He's like, that's good. And then they're like, I'm like, dude. And I was like, what about shooting guns? What about this? He's like, well, just don't shoot over the road. I'm like, okay. And it was just so nonchalant, laid back. All right, Larry, what do you got? You're chomping at the bit.
Yeah, I got
Good.
another one here. I just got my texts are just going off. This is from the Heartland School Board. Okay, we have our new appointment for the Heartland School Board. Danielle Custodio was appointed just moments ago.
And do we know? Do we have information on Danielle? Do we know anything?
Yes, we do.
We're sitting here waiting.
Danielle is a good appointment.
Okay.
Enlighten us.
We will talk about that more, and I'm not at liberty to say more, but she is a good appointment.
Mm-hmm.
The majority has just changed.
Well, that's a good thing. Yeah.
That's a good thing.
Very good.
All right. So, anyways, let me get back to our chat over here since Larry's got this over here.
Well, you got to show the pictures. I mean, we're talking about up north and all that.
They got a great blueberry beer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you got to bring me back some. Definitely.
You know what? I had some really good
museum,
up north.
In Paradise.
There's a guy up north that makes really good blueberry ice wine, and I mean that stuff is to die for.
Okay.
It is. So, you guys ever had an ice wine?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When we did the tour,
It's as sweet as ice wine is as sweet as your Di Serono.
Yeah. So up here in the Traverse City.
Yeah, and where I had the ice wine wasn't far from there. It was a place called.
Teddy.
It was in a place called Bear Lake.
Yep, I know right where Bear Lake is.
Yeah,
Ice it up.
I used to. My wife's friend used to have a place in Bear Lake. We used to go up there,
Right.
and there was this guy up there who was a retired science teacher, and he made the best blueberry ice wine. I tasted that one time. I was like, whoa.
I always stayed away from science because I heard that one guy got blinded by science, and so I just stayed away.
Yeah. Who, Hitler?
No, that guy. They blinded me with science. That was funny to me. I don't care. No, I tried some ice wine when we went up to Leelanau, or the whatever the hell it's called.
It's Leelanau. That's Leelanau, Pencil. That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I found out. Do you know about the ice wine, Larry? What they do with it?
I know how ice wine is made. Yes, it was explained to me. They allow the grape to naturally freeze on the vine.
Mm-hmm.
Then they harvest it once it's frozen.
Mm-hmm.
And then they use a big press, I mean, you're talking 100-tonner.
Yeah.
And it squeezes one teeny tiny drop of juice out of every grape.
Yeah. That's why
it's so expensive.
It's twice.
Yes.
It's either the same exact price as a full size bottle, and it's half the size.
Yes.
And the ice wines are excellent. I'm a late harvest Riesling guy.
Yeah.
So the ice wines are just like another month at the most away from that.
Yeah.
And it brings out, it's got a great flavor.
Yeah.
Phenomenal flavor.
Yeah, there's some pretty good ice wines. I've never had a bad ice wine, but it's like you drink ice wine and it's like taking a shot of Jack.
They're pretty tasty, bro.
Yeah, they're pretty tasty and they're strong.
And I was, for a while there, I was pretty well versed in the years.
Yeah.
Like I knew that late harvest 2013 was awesome, and then the 2018 was awesome. It all depends on the year and how much water they get and how much water they don't get. Because the drier, sometimes the drier the season, you can get the grapes concentrate the sugars more, and so you can get a higher flavor. And then if it's more saturated, you get a subtler flavor. And I like a late harvest Riesling, which is not dry to your palate. It doesn't dry your tongue out like some of the wines, but it's not overly sweet. Like a Riesling can be really dry to your palate, a really dry white. But then it all flavors out. I used to be really into it for a while there, and then I took away from it. So anyways, all right. What about weird science? I don't know. Dale says he loves ice wines too. Dale, I'm a little upset you were late, buddy. Says
Yeah,
he-
don't be late for the podcast.
He says he was looking at a camper in South Lyon.
Oh yeah. What? A trailer or a motorhome or
Yeah,
what?
you piqued Larry's interest, Dale. You're gonna have to get a hold of him after the show. Thanks, Teddy.
Mhm.
Teddy brought me more ice.
Oh,
Surprised you didn't get more ice for you.
Blinded Me with Science, Thomas Dolby.
The song, yeah. We can't play it on the show or we'll get a copyright strike, even though we're not monetized
Yeah,
on YouTube.
play it on the show and talk about it.
I'll play it acoustically and call it good. Patrick's sending me, there we go. Wall feed. That's how huge the burger is, and that's Taylor Vincent Gibbs there. And he took that burger down.
He did the whole thing. Sucked it right down.
Dude, I used to call him, one of my nicknames for him still to this day is the Pit. The Pit, because
Yeah.
there's a hole somewhere in there that he can stuff stuff. It's just like there's a pit somewhere in there.
Yeah, look at the size of that thing.
Dude, that's a huge ass burger.
Yeah, if he didn't have his face down there, you wouldn't realize how big it is.
Right?
You know?
You think, oh, is that a small plate? No, dude, that's a full size
You
dinner
gotta
plate.
smash the burger down to fit it in your mouth.
He did.
Yeah, I don't know how he got
Yeah,
it.
he did.
He had to eat the top and
No.
the bottom.
Wrong ones. Now look at this. There's the money shot right there.
No,
There's Patrick,
yeah.
Pastor Ken, me. That's a sexy looking guy, and my son Taylor Vincent Gibbs. That's
Yeah.
a good looking set of men there.
We weren't too worried about intruders at the campsite or the cabin we were staying in.
Right?
They look like extremists that want to kidnap Governor Whitmer.
I don't want to be tortured by her presence.
No, hell no. That's how I knew that whole line of crap was bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
No, who in their right mind would want to spend even 5 minutes with Governor Whitmer?
Right.
Not even, no thank you. Just put it that way.
Oh, and she's spinning her wheels going all over the globe right now.
Yeah,
She's
and
in
Yeah,
Australia.
I've got a story coming up, in my lightning round about
How,
LG.
how much she's...
Her battery plant, over $190 million of taxpayer dollars, and no LG battery plant.
Is that the one that went to Arizona?
Huh?
Is that the one that went to Arizona?
I don't know if it went to Arizona. I haven't read the story to the people yet.
Okay.
Okay, well, I see what you did.
Yeah.
He's holding us off there. I don't know if this picture is an actual accurate picture, but I just flipped over and saw this. On June 30th, 2025, that was yesterday,
Yeah.
5 p.m. Eastern Time, the last remaining water plants in the state of Florida turned the fluoride off for good.
Yep.
Historic day. For those of you in the audience that don't know about fluoride,
It's poison.
it is a poison. It is a byproduct of aluminum smelting that they somehow convinced us was good for us. And people are so dumb that they don't realize there's a difference between naturally occurring, all I can think is hydrosilicic fluoride, which is what that is, and natural fluoride in natural, which is good, and you need trace amounts, but not the fluoride that they're putting in the water that the Nazis first used in Poland to make the people docile because it calcifies your pineal gland. Make you dumb. Which I don't know if you've noticed, the vast majority of Americans.
There must be just feeding it to the Democrats because.
Oh, dude. Yeah, but you can walk through our favorite place there, Walmart, and see a lot of lowered expectations.
Oh yeah. No question about
You
that.
got graded on a curve, didn't you? Yeah, you did. Anyways, what do you guys what do you think of Independence Day? What do you think of? Let's do this.
I think it's a great celebration.
Yeah.
Yes.
Blowing shit up. I want to read a little. I'm going to read the preamble again. When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them to another, and to assume among the powers of the earth a separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind require that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. Most people don't read that first paragraph, but it's a very important preamble.
Well, you're reading the Declaration of Independence.
Correct. We're talking about independence.
Yep.
We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, and you know the thing.
That's the thing, yeah. That's
You know,
right.
back in 1976, George Washington flew up that,
That's why we had to get
rode the horse jet into the alien spaceship.
That's why we had to get.
That's what America's all about.
We had to get it.
Not a joke, everybody. That's why we were defeated in 2018 when they tried to do it. We went to 54 states.
Yep.
These people are crazy.
We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal and endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. To secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive to these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem the most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence, indeed, will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes. And accordingly, all experience has shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer, while evils are sufferable, than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations pursuing invariably the same objective evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. And I can keep going, but that is the beautiful language of the Declaration of Independence. And I wanted to do a little roundtable with you guys and just look at, they were protesting this over a 3% tax and there were two main things, both taxes, right? But they had been repealed and let in, and it looked like there was a lot of back and forth. There was an olive branch literally extended to try and reconcile with the government of England. There was a whole bunch of things going on. And they finally, and there were skirmishes, and they finally came out with this Declaration of Independence. And you can read it in the language. They're saying that you don't do this over light, just, transient things. You don't just get pissed off and say, I'm done with you. But I look at where our founding fathers were when they declared independence and what they were dealing with.
Well, they were dealing with England sucking the life out of us.
Correct. But if you look at it, they're dealing with a 3% tax.
And where was it going? It wasn't being spent here in the United States. It was being spent in England to prop up the monarchy and the English people. It didn't stay here.
Right.
Wasn't meant to pay off the debts that the British incurred during the 7 Years' War, where it took place mostly
100%.
in the Americas against the French.
There's that, but there's also, it's not just that. The tax is something we focus on, and I'm focusing on it for a little bit, but there was also, when we read the Bill of Rights, there's a lot of things in the Bill of Rights that the reason they're in there is because of other injustices that were huge. The British soldiers could come in and just take over your house.
Yeah.
That's why we have the
Third Amendment.
Third Amendment.
Mm-hmm.
You
No
could be
soldier
disarmed.
shall be quartered in any home. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, you could be disarmed at any moment. That's why we have the Second Amendment. You could be told, you could be silenced and put in jail, put in the tower, put in whatever. That's why we have the First Amendment.
Speaking of the First Amendment, we had some awesome Supreme Court rulings this week on freedom of religion.
Let's see, what one was that, Larry? I'm gonna go.
That's the fruit from New York.
Yes, well, it was.
We'll go over the
it was a parental.
Oh yes,
it was a parental rights case. It was out of Virginia, where the libtards in the Virginia schools were trying to force LGBTQ perverted books on parents, and parents fought back.
Yeah.
And they won huge.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. Senate, could you go back up? Senate votes against big, beautiful bill measure barring illegals from receiving Medicaid.
Yes, that would be Democrats doing that.
Or would it? Well, I thought we had the majority in the Senate and the House.
Is on this spending bill? Do we need a supermajority or a regular majority?
No, I don't think so. I think this qualifies as reconciliation because it is a omnibus bill, which I am not a fan of omnibus
bills are shit.
No, the last that's how the smoking age got raised from 18 to 21 in this country. Was the Democrats snuck that into an omnibus bill during Trump's last term, and Trump should have vetoed the bill. I would have, if I were president and I had a perfect bill in front of me and it had that in it, I'd have vetoed it.
No.
That's the interesting thing, and I think the biggest thing that we've got to get back to and we've got to go for is single item bills. I understand this is an omnibus bill. This is a budget bill, so you're going to have all across. It's a budget bill.
I am not a huge fan. Of the big beautiful bill. I think it's too big and it's not too beautiful.
Well, that's the dust up between.
That's my opinion.
Yeah.
And everybody's welcome to their opinion. I don't like the way that they have watered down what Trump wanted to do in the bill. Like, for example, one of the things I don't like is the no tax on overtime, which they have watered it down and reduced it to the point to where, okay, if you make $20 an hour, and you go on to overtime, you're making $30 an hour. The difference between $20 and $30 is $10. That's the amount of money you don't have to pay the tax on.
Yeah.
You still have to pay the tax on the regular hourly pay. It's the $10 per hour that you're going to get a tax deduction at the end of the year for. So it's not going to make your paycheck any bigger throughout the year now. Because Democrats have come in and watered this shit down.
Yeah, shame on the Republicans for allowing that to happen. That's always been
that's
the thing.
shame on the Republicans too, and then you got the rhinos.
They should have just, I mean, I said it last week and I'll say it again. I'm going to have to make it a mantra. Government never decreases. That's why our founding fathers knew that when government becomes destructive to these ends, it is their right, is their duty to alter or abolish.
Right. Well, it's just like, Republicans talk this big conservative game. We all love to hear it. But when it comes down to it, we hear, oh, yeah, but there's Democrats and we can't get it pushed through. It's going to be harder to reach that goal because we don't have a super majority. Well, okay. Well, wait a minute. When are you going to actually cut spending?
We live with it here in Michigan. What happens in Michigan? They get one Democrat majority in our House and Senate here in Michigan, and they steamroll every piece of shit legislation to screw the American people that they or the Michigan people that they can.
Yes.
And then the Republicans get back and get one piece of majority. They go, oh, we got to capitulate. We got
to think of the left wing. What would they say about us? What would the journalists say about us?
They might attack us if
they might say that.
We can't use their same tactics. What were their tactics? Well, they pushed through bills that, you're going to push through bills that we might actually like? How dare you?
Never underestimate the ability for Republicans to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory.
Absolutely. I was trying to find it, Larry, one of the articles. Do you know if do you have a link to any of the articles?
You mean for that ruling?
For the rulings, yeah. Because it was last week. We only do the show on every Tuesday, so it gets a little.
Yes.
Send me a link to that. Read that one, Teddy. Hi, Teddy, from mom, sister, aunt, and cousin watching in our Disney hotel. Dale says he's getting a hybrid trailer. A hybrid. He's getting a hybrid trailer. I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
Dale, what does that mean?
Half trailer, half bicycle?
Trailer. half trailer, half tent, half.
I don't know what that means, Dale. You're going to have to clarify. Hey, you people need to hit that thumbs up, man. Hit that thumbs up on there. Let us know you love us.
Come on, man.
Come on, man. Yeah, but seriously, man.
I'm super cereal.
But come on, man. And for real. Not joking. I got to play it again because it's just so dumb.
Not a joke, everybody. That's why we were defeated in 2018 when they tried to do it. We went to 54 states.
Cut to my computer, Jeremy.
No, Larry. Okay.
I think that's, in that debate with
There
Trump,
we go.
he lost it when they asked him, Mr. Trump, how do you want to respond to what President Biden had to say?
He goes,
And
I don't think he knows what he said.
He said, I have no idea what he said. And as a matter of fact, I don't think he knows what he had to say.
What do you got, Larry?
So the U.S. Supreme Court rules schools must let kids opt out of LGBTQ plus readings. The court sides with parents in Maryland who protested against exposure to storybooks that they found objectionable. Yes,
Objectable.
yes.
Now,
The U.S. Supreme Court has ruled that schools must give children the chance to opt out of on faith grounds from listening to storybooks being read out loud that feature gay and transgender characters in a landmark decision that will be seen as striking a blow for religious rights and education. Now, I hope this story actually quotes the decision, because there were some really good comments that were made.
they're saying it'll strike a blow against religious rights in education.
No, for
That's how it's-
religious rights in education.
Oh, for religious rights. in
Strikes a blow for religious rights in
Okay.
education. In the case that exposed the passion surrounding the U.S. religious sector divide, the court sided with parents in Maryland and protested that they were left with no means of shielding their kids from the context of 6 storybooks they found objectionable.
Objectable?
Yes.
Is that like
The ruling means that the Montgomery County Board of Education, which administrators schools and some of Washington, D.C.'s most affluent servers, must provide opt-out facilities. In the case Muhammad versus Taylor, 3 sets of parents comprising of Muslims, Roman Catholics, and Orthodox Christians complained that the board's policy and effort focused their children on hearing storylines that they alleged promoted political ideology about family life and human sexuality.
Sexuality.
Yes. That are inconsistent with sound science, common sense, and the well-being of children.
But is it inconceivable?
One book, Uncle Bobby's Wedding, features a gay character who is getting married while another born ready. The true story of a boy named Panoply is about a transgender child. Yes. Yeah, so I mean this is great. This is right on constitutional lines. See, this shoots down everything. I have to dig it up. I have a screenshot of the Democrats. The Michigan Democrat Party put out a post, then took it down because it was so bad. But it basically said that where does all this parental rights stuff come down to, or coming from when it comes to educate our children? Education is not about what parents want their kids to learn, but what we decide they need to know. Something like that. That's paraphrasing from my memory. But I mean, it shows the difference between the line of thinking between a Democrat and a Republican. The Republican would say parental rights.
Mm-hmm.
The Democrats say parents have no rights.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But they also say my body, my choice. But
only when it comes to abortion, not when it comes to
the
jobs.
Right. Yeah, the jabs.
Right, they're hypocrites.
So one of the things that I've been hearing in the debate since the verdict was passed this week and or last week, and so one of the best arguments, and I'll consolidate it for everybody out there. One of the best things that I heard was the objection on the right. Those who say that the verdict didn't go far enough. They felt that if you're going to give the children a opportunity to opt out, then just get rid of the books themselves that they're using. Get rid of the whole curriculum. Go back to just teaching biology, simple stuff. But even when I was in school, the sex education classes, you could opt out. Your kid, you could have your kids opt out, and all it was teaching them something further. But I mean, even when I got my first marriage, we had to go through a class that had graphic pictures of STDs and different things like that, And then when I got married later, it was like, you'd have to do anything, read a pamphlet on, this could fuck your life up. You know what I'm saying? Make sure you're both clean, basically. Yeah. Anyways, so there's some people on the right that are saying this didn't go far enough. They should have just got rid of it all. The contrast to that, well, they're saying it didn't go far enough. It's going to create an ostracism for the kids that opt out of this. It's going to have that effect that it had when I was in school, where if you opted out of the sex ed class, you were the minority. You were labeled. You were kind of, you can't handle going in here and doing a sex ed class. That's one of the arguments on the right hand of it. Now, here's the dynamic. So I'm laying that out. There's people on the right that say that this verdict, okay, great, but it doesn't go far enough. It should just get rid of the books, should get rid of the curriculum out of the schools. And you're going to create an ostracism with our children that are going to opt out. Here's the whole caveat, though. This curriculum is so unpopular in our schools. Mm-hmm. The reason that they mandated it in the first place was because the vast majority of the kids didn't want to go and read these books, don't want to be involved in it in the first place.
Right.
So the argument that I hear some people on the right saying is it's going to ostracize kids, not going to fly, because you're going to have the vast majority of the kids are going to opt out. And I read it, and then I heard somebody reading it, that the reason that they had to institute this idea of or this mandatory taking of these classes, these sex ed classes with, Bobby has two mommies or whatever the hell they're teaching, is that nobody wanted to go to it. Like a very small, they didn't have enough people. So it's not quite the same as in college. In college, you have to have a certain amount of people take a class in order for the class to exist.
Right.
If they don't have enough people to take the class,
They cancel it.
they cancel the class. In high school, it's not quite that way, but if they can't get enough participation, the administrators will say, there are some stipulations that say we just, nobody's going to show up.
Right.
So there's this, the positive of it is giving the kids the opt-out in this case creates such a landslide of opting out that it will demonstrate to the school districts that these are wholly unpopular. And I talk to kids. I talk to, my 16 and 17-year-old two kids that I'm connected with, my consider my kids. And we talk about this every once in a while. Not a whole lot because they're focused on life. But these, there's some things going on with these schools. Teddy, you're the least removed from schools. What was going on when you graduated?
Well, when I graduated 5 years ago, it wasn't anything. I don't remember having any books or anything like that about.
But you had some furries.
Well, we had furries and all that. They had their little furry ears, or a couple of them had tails.
Did they have litter boxes in the bathrooms?
No, but a couple of them would act like dogs and bark when when people were making fun of them.
When they got agitated? Wasn't there one kid who pretended to be a crow?
No, I don't know about that.
I'm trying to think of the school district you went to.
Heartland?
Yeah. There was a kid in there that I don't know how recent it was, or if it was in your.
Maybe my brother would know.
Yeah. Anyway, so it's gotten weird. So I love this case from the standpoint of this is one of the times that an opting out option will empower the vast majority of kids because contrary to it, we had these generations, and now there's a lot of kids that are like, whether they want to take this huge political stance or not, are like, this is stupid. I don't want to be involved. And then you got a small fringe group of kids who are emotionally and hormonally fucked up in the first place, who shouldn't be subjected to this type of abuse through the faculty and through manipulation through these cult organizations, these alphabet mafias. And so these kids are struggling no matter what. I mean, name a teenager that didn't struggle through high school. Well, he struggled after high school, or she struggled after high school with the same issues they could have struggled with in high school. Most people struggled with zits and puberty and all this stuff. And now you've got people that are preying upon these kids. Oh, you could be another gender.
Yeah.
You could be a little.
You can be whatever you can be whatever you want.
Our great friend of the show, case.
Which one? This show has a lot of great friends.
No, case up. I'm drawing a blank.
Oh,
See your face.
Kelly?
Well, I wanted to say it was Katie. I'm like, it's not Katie.
No, it's Kelly.
I love Kelly. But Kelly talks about being a tomboy, and they would have. She knows they would have targeted her if she was going to school at this time. She wrestled she earned her spot and wrestled on the boys' teams. And wrestling. And she knows that they would have targeted her. And to look at her today, Kelly, no tomboy, but she was, she's a self-described tomboy. Which one are you on? You're my wall feed? There we go.
People usually don't pick on the wrestlers too much.
Well, piss off, Larry. We're going to get into the big, beautiful bill. We'll get into that in a little bit there, Cindy. Dale finding clarified that it is a combo pop-up with a regular trailer, but it has a slide-out living room and very lightweight. I don't know, buddy. I'm just thinking the hybrid scares me.
I thought the hybrid was one of those where it's like living quarters up front and then a garage thing in the back. You can bring your toys.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I was out in my hybrid camper, and I encountered the hybrid man-bear-pig.
Man-bear-pig.
I'm super cereal.
One part man, one part bear, one part pig. Man-bear-pig. For non-South Park people.
I still can't. The funniest thing about last week's show was just Larry's face when he saw the fish stick song.
Dude, watching this thing. That's what I thought about today. Okay, so we got a number of people in chat now. I got to go. So I started out tonight's show calling it a ramble versus a rant. So normally for the last 5 years, it's been a Tuesday night rant. And I thought about it this week, and I thought, oh, man, it's a Tuesday night ramble because we just ramble. Now, if we have guests on Sundays, and that's very concise. I have a lot of notes, and we do a really good interviews with them, with our guests on there. But on Tuesday night, we're touching the news. We're having some good times. We're talking about vacations. We're talking about different things. It's a ramble. Yeah. We're ramble. I want to know in the chat. I need everybody in the chat that's been sounding in there. I want to know what you prefer, a ramble or a rant. What do you like better? It's been 5 years calling it a Tuesday night rant. I would gladly change it to a Tuesday night ramble. It's not changed in the crawl on the screen yet, but I will gladly change it up because I think we just ramble. Definitely, I do.
We used to rant.
We used to rant. We used to get pretty intense.
We did get intense.
But I was like, you know what?
I think we're basically all agree on everything for the most part.
But I'm by nature a happy guy.
Yeah.
You know?
But there's nothing really to argue about or be that.
Well, I'll tell you where it started.
Super cereal.
I'll tell you where it started from. Okay. I used to love watching Dennis Miller live when he was on HBO. And he would do his monologue. He would do a whole bunch of stuff and tell some jokes and everything like that. And then he would get to a certain point. I think it was like a third of the way in the show. And he'd go, and not to get into a rant. And he would go on this just gorgeous, high intellect, comedic rant. And it was awesome. And I loved the Dennis Miller rants when he would do them. And I thought, when I started the show, 5 years ago, I was like, I like the idea of a Tuesday night rant. I like that, we're going to rant about some stuff. And we had some epic rants. Our buddy Matt went off on an epic rant 2 or 3 times. He's come on the show, and I had other buddies, and they would just like, oh man, I got to tell you, got cut off in traffic. This is a bunch of bullshit, man. It's like, dude, and they're going off, and I'm like, okay, but we get it. We get excited about stuff, but we're more rambly now.
I had one rant the entire time I was on the show, but that was like a year ago.
You got in trouble for that one, didn't you?
I got in trouble.
I remember that one. You were on the wrong side of the fence.
I think I was on the right side of the fence. I just worded it very poorly.
That was
you. I won the Army in all 54 states.
I won it, but I got it. Hey, man.
Not a joke, everybody. That's why we were defeated in 2018 when they tried to do it. We went to 54 states.
How can anybody in the right mind say
that guy
man
never
had
gets
his shit together?
Dude, that guy never gets old.
And I'm hearing that the rumblings that they don't think he's around anymore. That
you know what? There's a lot of speculation that he was. He had a lot of surrogates. Yeah. I mean, it's known for a long time that they put out that many presidents had doubles.
I'm no cancer expert, but doesn't it take a while for cancer, like especially where he has it, to like reach the bone? Or
not necessarily. Mom had lung cancer, and they told her, no, it's just pneumonia. Oh, it's just bronchitis or whatever, backwards, bronchitis, then pneumonia. Then they finally said, oh, it's lung cancer. And by the time she got in to do PET scans, they saw the main tumor in her lung, her bronchial area in her lung, and there was a trace in lymph node and a trace in her thigh bone already.
It's just amazing that, like, I don't know if he had it while like the election was going on, or
I think so.
I think so, but like, I mean, they could have, hiding his like obvious like ramblings and mental degradation is one thing, but if they knew he had cancer and were just hiding it, like, and no one's really talking about it,
right? Cindy says alternating between both is good. All right, maybe I'll think about that. Like 1 week it'll be, well, we're just going to ramble tonight. And then 1 week we may say, oh, we're going to rant about this.
Well, what if we say we're going to rant and it turns into a ramble? I mean, it could be. Yeah.
See,
Tuesday night.
And there's so much pressure. We got to keep up all of our sponsors. We got to make sure everybody is happy out there. We got to conform to nobody.
What about rampling?
Rampling.
Oh,
you did not. You.
What?
That camera cut out. I got power supplies for every freaking camera, and it just cut out. I wanted to know if it was gonna not cut out. Here's the other thing. Maybe my HDMI link.
We could rant about the HDMI.
Now, I have ranted about that in the past.
Yeah.
Computer issues, everything like that. And I've ranted about Larry just nonchalantly walking back to the show with a bottle in his hand.
We should have like a mini like series or skit where it's like tech tips with Larry Parsons.
Right? You didn't even finish your carcinogen over there.
Yeah, carcinogen.
Come on, man.
But they had to take, like, top my head up. Trying to see
in 54 states.
See if I had a brain.
34.
Man,
that's what America's all about.
I don't know what you're talking about. I've been here the whole time.
Well, we finally beat Medicare.
Medicare, man.
Yeah, you beat it to death.
Listen, hey, man. Not a joke. By the way.
I can describe America in 3 words.
Did you guys catch that in the man cave shot? There, everybody there's the grandkids leaving the blankets and the Legos from the last time they hung out.
That's where they belong, though. You know.
I built them a whole room in the back,
Yeah.
and they just can't stay put.
No.
Wave at everybody so we can get some perspective.
Oh, let me do it, Larry. You ready?
Yep.
Where'd I put it?
Keep waving.
Keep waving, Larry.
Yeah.
Like the sweet, beautiful little girl you
The
are.
parade wave.
Look at that. Look at that. There's Larry.
Oh, look at
There's
that.
Larry. And then let's come back and go, oh, there's Larry, far rail up there.
Yep.
And then there's the main cave shot. Boom. I wish I could get it programmed to where those automated the automated shots. There's got to be a way to program the change between where I set one shot and where I set the other shot.
Yeah.
To see how they jerk and move around when they're making the change. There needs to be like this smooth transition between the two shots.
Yes.
And so there's a way to figure it out, but no mooing, Larry. What does it say? No mooning? Oh, no mooning. Don't moon, Larry.
That's an idea I haven't thought about.
Well, you turned your ass around when he's saying when you turned your ass around to sit back down. That's what Dale's thinking you're doing. All right, let's get into this. Cindy says the big, beautiful bill passed the Senate, going back to the House for a vote to approve the Senate changes. What, Larry's the...
When you change the name, Chuck Schumer changed the name on it, too?
Yes, Chuck Schumer cited some rule about how many letters can be in the name of a budgetary bill during reconciliation.
Now, I don't...
1973 Act, I think.
I don't disagree with the idea of reading the bill.
Right.
But Chuck Schumer to stall this out because he doesn't want Trump to get this passed and on his desk for July 4th.
Yeah, he doesn't want anything good.
Correct.
To go through.
Yes, he insisted that the whole bill be read in the House.
Is there going to be like any massive event, like parade or something that Trump's doing for like July 4th? It's 250, birthday.
No, it's next year.
That's next year.
This year was the 250th anniversary of the Army. They had a big parade there. Next year,
250 years.
Yeah, 1976 and then 2026.
Oh,
76 was the bicentennial.
All right, Cindy, I want you to work on the
and I
rights.
remember it.
The rights to that.
I graduated from high school on it, so I remember it well.
Cindy's saying that if we're going to call it Ramble, then we have to get Bob Seger's Ramblin' Man to open the show. I'm going to ask you to help me work on the rights to that. Oh, Big K says Tuesday Night Tirade. That goes way beyond a rant. That's like just straight up
Tuesday Night Tirade.
I'm going on tirade.
And now, live from the Man
tirade.
Cave, it's a Tuesday Night Tirade.
And we're angry.
And every time you announce a name, Jeremy just throws a bottle across the room.
Right? I thought about it. I was like, do I need to have 4 or 5 de-Serona bottles here? I think 4 or 5. Because I think 5 is that's a 5 bottle throw. Like, that's so angry. I'm throwing 5 bottles tonight. We're going to make a game out of it where we're tossing. These are heavy fucking bottles, dude.
I mean, a week ago,
Those would hurt some tile.
we didn't know. A week ago, we didn't know what direction the world was going in.
Yeah, you know,
Right?
Yep. Throwing
A week ago, we were worried. Well, a week ago, we were worried about everybody having, like, shall we call it a emotional response on the show?
I was very concerned.
Yes.
I did not want to have an emotional response. I didn't want you to have an emotional response, but I was prepared to throw a Di Serrano bottle.
But we talked about that in a good way, and then we were just like, fish sticks.
What's your paper say today, Larry?
Yeah.
No Di Serrano bottles were thrown during the making of this show.
Yeah. Yes. And here we are a week later, and we have success.
Thick glass.
You know,
And then we have peace in the Middle East right now.
Lord willing, fingers
So
crossed.
now, what biblically, what would happen if we have 3 years of peace in the Middle East? Is that could there be a rapture?
If you believe in the Schofield interpretation of Revelation, but if you believe in the first 1,700 years of the interpretation of Revelation, Revelation was fulfilled in roughly 70 AD, the majority of the middle parts.
Yeah.
And you can have a repetition or a repeat of that. But
There seems to be some thought of
Trump
what
the
would
Antichrist.
happen if no.
Well, but if he's bringing peace, he could be the peacemaker. There's some people float that shit.
Mm-hmm.
Which I don't. I've studied too much.
Yes.
To be into that dogma, to know that. In fact, it says it goes, as you've heard, the Antichrist is coming. So many Antichrists have come. Okay, go back into the Greek, because the English personified the Antichrist with a capital Antichrist, and the reality is it's the same article. So it should accurately be read, as you have heard that an Antichrist is coming, or a Antichrist is coming, lowercase. So many Antichrists have come. And what John was writing was, there are people who are going to be opposed to the anointed one and his anointing, and they've already been here, and they will continue to be here. But we've made it this personified one guy. Oh, this is going to be the one guy. We get fixated on the cult of personalities, and it never works. You know, it never. Oh, 88 Reasons Why Christ is Coming in 1988. Remember that book? Sold millions of copies. The late great Planet Earth.
Remember,
they sold millions of copies.
Harold Camping.
Yeah. And it's just like, dude, it literally says in Scripture, no man will know the day or the hour, but you'll know the season.
Yes.
And it also says that Christ is coming back for a church without spot, wrinkle, or any other blemish. Well, does the church look like it's got a lot of spots, wrinkles, and blemishes right now? Did he come once to rescue us from our own stupidity? Is he coming to rescue us from our stupidity again? Well, go read Revelation 21 and 22. He's coming back for a triumphant church. He's coming back victorious. Yeah. That means we, as believers in Christ, need to get our collective shit together, unite by the Spirit of God, operate in the greatest commandments, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, love your neighbor as you love yourself, and not buy into the hysteria that everybody buys into on a daily basis, or the partisan divisional, I believe this doctrine and you don't believe that doctrine. What, do you love Jesus? And are you working on trying to love yourself and love me? Well, let's just work together.
And that is one of you know, to love thy neighbor as you love thyself.
Yeah.
You know, that is one of the most taken out of context scriptures that I've ever seen, along with the other one, which
judge not lest you be judged.
Yes. What does it say after that? But judge with the rightness.
For with the judgment that you use, will you be judged?
Yes, but right after, but use a judge with a righteous judgment.
There's some translations say with a sober judgment.
Yes.
But you're right. It's taken hugely out of context, because it says love your neighbor as you love yourself. And I've looked at many, many believers over many years of being involved in the church, and I go, I know why you don't like me. And they go, what? I go, it's easy to see why you don't like me. And they go, what are you saying? I go, you don't like yourself. You walk around here waiting to be offended, looking to be annoyed, because you've never found peace within yourself. It says peacemakers who sow into peace raise a harvest of righteousness.
I'm going to make him talk to my boss.
Be right. Well, and the word righteousness in the Greek, it literally means to be in the state or condition of him who is. as he ought to be. Righteousness, meaning you are exactly in the spot that you're supposed to be. Not perfect,
Right.
but you're settled within yourself. And so this idea of peacemakers who sow into peace raise a harvest of righteousness. If you operate in peace and you sow peace around you as much as you can, you keep yourself centered and in the place that God's called you to be. You're sowing peace, and it brings back to you being in the right place. And so many people miss these. I mean, you got to have a doctorate degree in theology to fuck it up.
I have so much. There is so much that gets taken out of context and thrown at me. That I see like all over Facebook and debating, or people calling me a hypocrite because I eat shellfish, or somebody calling me a hypocrite. Right. I'll expand on that. Right. I'll expand on that. You know where I'm going, right?
Dude, give me some lobster.
Yeah. Or they call me a hypocrite because I wear clothes that might be of mixed fabric.
Or do you got any tattoos, Larry?
Dude, I'm not Jewish. Right? I am not Jewish. That scripture was written for the Jews.
Under Mosaic law.
Under Mosaic law.
Not under the Abrahamic covenant, but under the Mosaic covenant.
They cracked me up. Jesus said that the food is okay to eat because it just passes through you.
Go read Acts chapter 10 and 11, where Peter gets chastised because Peter's shown all four manner of creature throughout the earth, and he goes, get up, Peter, kill and eat. He goes, not so, Lord, nothing unclean has touched my lips. And he goes, how are you going to call unclean what the Lord's made clean?
Yeah.
And then immediately he gets sent to a group of Gentiles.
Yes.
Who are believers. And he goes, I can't even come in your house or touch you, but the Lord told me not to be an asshole about it, so I'm going to come in here.
Yeah, and these Democrats that take the Bible out of context and throw it at me like it hasn't been thrown at me for 30 years. It's my first day, right? And they throw all this scripture at me. Oh, yeah, you eat pork or you eat shellfish. You're a hypocrite,
and they have no.
And I'm not Jewish.
And they have no.
And then they don't get it when I say that. What do you mean you're not Jewish?
I'm not under Mosaic law. Yeah. And you know what's funny? As I've encountered some of these people that are like, you eat bacon, and bacon. When you eat bacon, it gives the same endorphins releases as arsonist. I looked at this kid. I was like, you need to walk the fuck away from me. Or I will unleash on you the same feelings that an arsonist gets when I whoop your ass. He's like, whoa. I was like, dude, I'm enjoying my breakfast, and you walk up and go, bacon, you shouldn't be eating bacon. That's of the devil. You get the same hormone and endorphin release as somebody who does arsons. I was like, you need to walk the fuck away from me right now.
Did you know that bacon's bad? Okay, don't do bacon because it's bad.
It's bad. Okay. And I literally had these people tell me so all it says in scriptures is not to eat. There's like 2 or 3 scriptures about not eating pork for Israelites under Mosaic law. Okay, that's it.
Isn't there certain times of the year that they can't eat it? Or is it all the time?
All the time that they couldn't eat it.
Yeah.
And it was primarily given to them when they were in the desert, and they took the livestock, including pigs, out of Egypt, and they used the pigs as their garbage disposals. So all of the toxins that they were disposing of in their community, the pigs were eating and could process, but the Lord didn't want them to eat the pigs because they were processing literally
all the other
unclean,
all the shit. Yeah. They were literally eating the waste of the community.
And then there's a lot of rabbinic Jews that transfer their sins to you know what I'm talking about, chicken.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I've literally had them go, well, pigs don't sweat. And I go, neither do chickens. Well, I'm like, well, they don't do this. And they would start to list out the things that pigs don't do, adding to, I'm like, all it says is for the Israelites while they were leaving Egypt, not to eat pigs. There was no other added thing to it. Well, they don't eat this. I'm like, it said not to eat little rabbits, conies. And
yeah, I'm
like, so you don't eat rabbits today? And the whole idea of things being kosher, it's all it's all bullshit.
It's like another one of my favorites is it's harder for a rich man
to get through the eye of the needle and to get into heaven.
Why do you
Camel.
sound like some red, like Native American chief trying to give like some wise words or something?
It's harder for you.
Yeah, I go to Chinese.
It's like, really? You don't know that the eye of the needle is a passageway?
I just love how you're.
Did you not read the Bible? That
It's literally a gate.
You literally have to leave the camel
Right.
outside, and if you're wearing armor, you're going to have a hard time passing through.
Right. It's not the gate that you wanted to be at, but if you ended up at a gate,
Yeah.
you literally had to push all of your belongings ahead of you through the gate,
Yeah.
then crawl through yourself. And that's literally what Jesus is referring to, and they don't have a clue.
No, they don't. They think you're talking about needle and thread.
I know, and I'm astounded by that. In fact, I was going to bring this one up.
Yeah, there's some door that was called the Eye of the Needle.
Yeah.
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 I wanted to bring this one up. Lori posted this one. Our good friend, Yusista, that she found out like 10 years ago or 2 years ago.
We have that as like a disclaimer.
You know what? I thought about this. Look at this one, guys. I want you to see this one. I loved it. Ignorance. Easy there, Larry.
Yeah. Easy on the hard stuff there.
Oh my goodness, buddy.
Yeah.
You okay, Larry?
What's you know what? Every time
I guess you got to stick to sniffing coke.
when dude, was the tea was a little stronger than the Coke.
Yeah. Wow.
I need to. You know what I need to do, Teddy? We got to figure out the sound effects, and I'm going to have you start running the sound effects over here.
Okay.
I want the Full Metal Jacket sound effect on that one. Are you going to die on me? Are you going? And then we got to get that Chinese one.
We got to get the
really? Anyways, looking at this, guys. Ignorance. The epitome of ignorance is when we reject information we know nothing about. This could come in the form of making a broad generalization and also refusing to look into something because we believe it is incorrect, even if we have very little knowledge of the subject to begin with. Socrates used to say that smart people, and this is why I had Teddy at the beginning of the show read the quote from Eleanor Roosevelt, because what's the quote again, Teddy? Do you remember off the top of your head?
Great minds discuss events. Great minds think of ideas. Average minds discuss events. Small minds discuss people.
Very good. So listen to this. Socrates used to say that smart people learn from everything. Average people learn from their experience, and people who are not smart already have all the answers. People who are not smart already have all the answers.
Yep, dumb fucks.
Putting your ego aside and always striving to be a learner in life will put you very far ahead. We have been conditioned to think we can only learn valuable information at school and from the officials. This is not true. So I wanted to read that to you guys to get this idea that I have a philosophy, and I'll let you say what you're going to say, Larry. I have a philosophy of challenging everything. I, in my heart, on a regular basis, challenge everything. I challenge all of my ideas because I want to validate them. Because if I don't validate them, or at least test them, what's the point of having them? Are they real if I don't find out if they're real? What were we going to say, Larry?
Well, I was going to say I was having a discussion with a pastor friend of mine today.
Okay.
And we were talking about a conversation he was having over the weekend with a guy about what the worst sin is. And he asked me if I knew what it was. Well, there's only one sin I can think of. It's always been called the deadly sin, and that's pride.
Okay.
But that's what he said they were talking about in their discussion, and how there's a pride flag.
Mm-hmm.
There's a pride month.
Yep.
There is a pride parade.
Yep.
And there are several pride events.
Mm.
So as we were talking about this, and I thought about, I'm going to bring this up with Jeremy tonight while I was discussing it with him. I do remember the Bible saying that.
Mm-hmm.
That pride is a pretty wicked sin. But there's also, in the discussion I had with them, people need to realize that we're not talking about doing something
And being
taking
proud of it.
pride,
Taking
being
pride in it, yeah.
building a nice, restoring an old car, and
Yeah.
and being happy with your work,
100%.
or this great
We
building
would
here.
be better to say the word satisfied, but in our English vernacular,
Yes,
pride has become the predominant word used.
right,
But we would be better served to say
satisfied.
or pleased.
Yes,
That's the scripture. That's one of the ideas of this is my good and faithful servant in whom I'm well pleased.
right.
Whereas now we would say, I'm proud of you. You know, but yeah. I would go a step further. I would think that is very Solomonistic, very, very proverbial, Proverbs based. That pride is the highest level of sin, to be very proud, arrogant. There's multiple. I used to read Proverbs a day. You guys, those of you who listen to the show for years, you know what I'm saying. But those of you just tuning in, I was commissioned by the Lord in my early teens to read a proverb a day. There are 31 proverbs. They're roughly
one for each day.
One for each day. You can read a proverb chapter in Proverbs pretty quickly. Nowadays, I have Proverbs on my phone. I can go through audio version of Proverbs in about a half an hour, maybe 40 minutes, and go through the whole book. I'll have to time it out next time so that I know for sure. But anyways, you can go through Proverbs pretty quick, and it's just converse. There's some very prominent themes throughout Proverbs. Pride and foolishness are two of the very prominent themes throughout Proverbs. It says, the proud and arrogant man, mocker is his name. Blows and wounds await him. There's so many Proverbs. You know, pride goes before destruction and a haughty spirit before a fall. There's so many Proverbs.
It's a lot of good wisdom in Proverbs.
100%.
Yeah.
Now, I will fast forward into the New Covenant, the New Testament, the New Covenant. And Jesus said that quite literally the greatest sin, or the unforgivable sin, I wouldn't even call it the greatest, but the unforgivable, is to blaspheme against the Holy Spirit. That is a very difficult, not difficult, it's an easy concept that's difficult for many people to grasp. But I'll try and give you a nutshell and just meditate on it, think about it yourself, look up the scripture verses that talk about it. It's in the Gospels. But Jesus said, he who blasphemes against, you can blaspheme against the Father, you can blaspheme against the Son, but he who blasphemes against the Holy Spirit will never be forgiven. That seems pretty straightforward, blaspheming against, so what does blaspheme mean? It means to speak against or to be in opposition of. I mentioned earlier in the show the Antichrist. The Antichrist is not, we've made it out to be this big person and there's going to be the Antichrist. Well, you actually study scripture, you dial in a little bit of the Greek, you put away our English words for a little bit, you understand that it's just literally somebody who opposes the anointing of God. Okay? The anointed one and his anointed. Same way that Jesus could call Peter Satan. He says, get behind me, Satan, you do not have the things of God in mind. Well, was Peter literally Satan, the devil? No. The word Satan in the Greek literally means to be an adversary or be an opposer, a stumbling block, in opposition, standing in the way. And that's literally what Peter was doing at that moment. But we've made these words, we've given them so much power, okay? It's akin to the swastika, which was a symbol of peace for thousands of years. Then the Nazis adopted it. Now it's a symbol of hate, okay? Whatever you give power to something, you give power to the word Satan, you give power to the word Lucifer, you give power to these different concepts or words. Now, if enough people empower it, it has this idea because the Lord spoke the world into existence. And when we speak and enunciate and give power to certain words, they then have to, if there's enough people speaking it, they conform to it. What did Jesus say? He didn't say, he said, whatsoever you ask for or whatsoever you believe in, you will have it. Now, there's times when he couched it in saying, praying to God, but there's other times he said, if you believe, not believing in him, but just believing, period, you'll say the mountain be removed and it'll be cast in the sea. That's how much authority and power the Lord bestowed upon his creation to our own destruction at times.
Yeah. Because people are so negative.
Because they are negative. Yeah. So the whole idea of blaspheming the Holy Spirit is speaking against the Holy Spirit. Now, where does that come into? How can I speak against the Holy Spirit? When the Holy Spirit on the inside of you says something and you oppose that, at a certain point, what did I could read my Bibles are over there. In Acts chapter 8, 8 and 9, when Stephen is being stoned, his last phrase to the Pharisees stoning him, he says, you with uncircumcised hearts and ears, you always oppose the Holy Spirit. You always oppose the Spirit of God. That's the key, is if we would just stop and listen to the still small voice within us. And it doesn't always manifest in a literal audible voice in your head. Sometimes you just know that you should go over and give somebody a hug. Sometimes you know that you should do a good, when it says in James, it goes, to him who knows the good he ought to do and doesn't do it, to him it is sin.
Yep.
I can look that scripture up and give you the chapter and verse on it, guys. To him who knows the good he ought to do. So when you know in your heart, when you feel it in your heart, there's a good thing you ought to do, and you don't do it, that to me, Larry, is that idea of pride, that ultimate sin, that somehow I know better than what the Spirit of God's intuition is in the inside of me, that feeling, that unction, that push to do a good thing. That's when I'm doing that greatest sin, because I'm going against the very fiber of my own being, because God's not going to push me within my heart to do a good thing and have that be have a bad outcome. I may not get a good earthly outcome. I may do something nice to somebody and it's repaid with evil, right? It says it in Proverbs. He who repays evil for good, evil will never leave his house. But what's the reward of the guy who did the good? The Lord says, you do good, and when you're repaid evil, I'll reward you. I will reward you. That's another proverb. So pride is that highest level, but that pride in the new covenant manifests in not doing the good that we ought to do, doing the good we know we ought to do. And however we know that, however the Lord speaks to us, however the Lord gets that information to us, that's our own individual process, our own individual walk. But the Lord's trying to get us to see the good in the day. You know, when you've been in the parking lot, this is the stupidest example, but it's the most easiest one we've all experienced. You know, when you've been in the parking lot and you could leave your cart there and you just feel that you stop and you go and put the cart up. Yeah. Or there's a bag floating through the parking lot.
You go big it
and
up.
you go step on the bag and you grab it and you throw it away.
If you can catch it.
If you can catch it. But you've been stupid. But you've been in that moment where you're trying to stop it and catch it.
And the wind picks it up and it shoots another 20 feet.
And you're like, forget it. But you had the intuition to do that, right? I just saw a news article today about how horrible these blue cities are and how just disgusting they are because their consciences have been seared. These masses of people have been so seared that they don't even have a concept that they could beautify it themselves. Think of the contrast of that with the trucker protests in Canada. The trucker protests, they said the streets in, what was that? Was that Toronto that they were in? Yeah. The streets were cleaner than they've been in decades because the truckers brought porta-johns. The truckers brought golf carts and other buggies, and they were policing themselves as they were protesting their own government for redress of grievances, and they were picking up the trash. They had porta-johns there.
Well, they did bring in their shit wagons and blow crap all over the front of the Parliament, but
Well, that was in France.
No, it was in.
Did they do that in there? But that was targeted.
Yes.
But then the streets where they were parked and camped out with their semi trucks, the farmers did do that. I know throughout Europe,
It was throughout Europe.
Yeah.
It
They
did
came-
Netherlands, France.
Yeah.
But it happened in Canada. It was going on.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, a
Guarantee
few
it.
years.
I think what you were saying about the truckers and all that, it's kind of what we need in the theme of Independence Day, is that we kind of need a new declaration of independence, and where we, as let's just say patriots or Americans or whatever,
right,
we need to form our own separate institutions instead of relying on the evil, corrupt institutions of the world that we use now. It's like Patrick was saying, we don't, he doesn't shop at Walmart anymore because of who they're funding.
Right.
And that's what a lot of people really need to do, is that they need to take the time to disconnect from all these institutions that hate them.
Yeah.
And be more community centric or be more localized.
I like that. What were you going to say, Larry, before you lose your thought?
Yeah, well,
then we'll
while
come
we
back
were
to that.
talking about, having the will to do those things, like catching the bags, going after it, doing the right thing. A couple years ago, I come home from work, and I went into the Myers parking lot in Heartland, and I parked. And I looked over, and there was a Chevy pickup truck with the door open. And I saw a guy's leg hanging out the door, and he was like this, right? So I walked over to him, and I looked at him, and I said, "Sir, are you okay?" No response. So I reached over, and I touched his vein here to feel for a pulse. There was no pulse.
Okay.
So I called 911. I pulled him out of his pickup truck. I laid him on the ground and did CPR on him until the ambulance arrived. But sadly, he didn't survive.
Okay.
I never heard the story of what happened.
Right.
He was an older guy, probably later 60s at the time, and this was like
Old
3
dude,
years ago.
Old, I'm telling you.
But you had the instinct. You had the instinct to go.
Yeah, he was
And there are
he was a tall guy too. He was like 6'4",
and
he wasn't white.
No.
But I got him out of his truck.
Yeah.
I laid him on the ground behind his truck.
Yeah.
In between that and another vehicle, and still people were taking my picture.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, are you kidding me?
And that's the difference, Larry.
The decline
You
of
got-
society begins at the individual.
Exactly. And you've got people that'll walk by somebody being raped on a subway car
Yes.
that will not intervene.
My ass. Give me. I'm intervening.
But I mean, isn't that
That's me.
isn't that at the core of you to where you would go? I wouldn't hesitate if I saw injustice. Caution to the wind, pocket knife, concealed carry, whatever I got on me. You're
I'll
hurting
tell
somebody
you,
else.
I'll tell you how biased the media is when Mike Detmer was running for, I can't remember if he was running for Congress or if he was running for the Senate at this time. He was traveling eastbound on 96, like right around the Kensington Road area. And one car slammed into another car and then went off into the woods, and he went out and rescued him, pulled him out of the car, had him and another guy, pulled him out of the car, saved him, right? I turned all that into the liberal media in Livingston County.
Not a word.
The one with the rainbows and the paywall, so you can't actually read anything on there. That Livingston County media.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, WHMI too.
Mm-hmm.
I turned it into.
Absolutely. No, going back to what you were saying, Teddy, I agree with you on one level, but I want to say this. I love the language of this, and I want to revisit this for just a minute. It says, my glasses. But I only have to do 2 folds versus your fancy ones that are like 15 folds. When a long train of abuses and usurpations pursuing invariably the same object evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, is their right. It is their duty to throw off such government and provide new guards for their future security. So while I agree with you that there are definitely Walmarts and different corporate things that we need to withdraw from and show our position.
But it's also the Hobbes concept of the Leviathan as a state.
I get that.
Where our social contract has been, the social contract
Correct.
has been violated throughout the last
few decades.
100%.
And
all I'm saying is that at a certain point, it becomes that phrase we read, it is their right. We read the right and we stop at that comma. At a certain point, it becomes the duty of patriotic people, not just patriotic Americans, but patriotic people throughout the world, because it's happened. We've been the greatest country to rise to this level of freedom as we know it in this level of history. But I want to say that at a certain point, I believe what the forefathers wrote on that is it does become our duty to overthrow or to throw off bad government. Not to just withdraw from bad government and let it wither on the vine and hoping it goes away, but to be proactive and say, we're going to throw this off. We're going to overthrow it. Case in point, Goshen, up there where the battery plant was, they caused their whole whatever township board to walk out. Okay. There's been multiple over the last 4 to 8 years. There's been multiple city councils and school boards that have walked out from opposition from the people. That's all I'm saying is I agree with you that there's a huge withdrawal, but think of the withdrawal from the dynamic of withdrawing from when I think of our stance with the government, I think of it like a tsunami. There's an earthquake somewhere way offshore that's happening. And we're the earthquake happening way offshore. And what happens first is that earthquake causes a
big wave,
a big drop in the seabed. And the water recedes from the beach. We withdraw, like you're saying. We withdraw from this, we withdraw from that, we withdraw from this. We're only withdrawing because we're coming with a surge that's going to wipe shit out. And I believe that, like our founding fathers, they were like, you know what? We can only withdraw so much before the surge has to come back in and change the landscape.
I think the current, as the Democrats would say, system of democracy is the best system to prevent rebellion, because most people will get upset about the government or how the state works or how the economy works.
Yeah.
And they'll vote for someone that changes it. That will placate them.
It will placate them. See you, Cindy. Thanks for tuning in, Han. Catch the rest of the show tomorrow.
What we need at first, there needs to be steps to happen, right?
Right.
If we want things to resurge, like you're saying, number one, we need a counter elite, because right now the system is full of elite, and they have their managerial class as well. That people that are going to university and are like the.
I can see that. I can understand it. Yeah.
They're the biggest wokesters out there.
Right.
These middle class managerial people. So what we need to do, and this is a problem I have, like TPUSA and like all these other like regular conservative people have been doing for the last 10 years, is that they've been dissuading people from going into the bureaucracy or any management position within the government or institutions.
Right.
And you could say, oh, if you do trades, you make more money. I guess you can make as much. It depends on the trade, but you get what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
We're kind of isolating ourselves as people that have no real political power to change the system. And what the voting and all that does is meant to placate the people that don't have that political power or elite status into thinking that they make a difference or they have their power. Now, sure, that can, you could, people could band together in like local stuff. But, that's just the local area. I'm talking about like federal stuff.
Don't you think that the voting originally empowered the people? It's become that dynamic.
Well, we weren't always, there wasn't always universal suffrage. Voting was a privilege, right?
It was predominantly white, predominantly land ownership, because the country was predominantly white. But there were freed blacks that were able to vote back then, contrary to a lot of beliefs. Go listen to Dr. Thomas Sowell. There were also women that could vote if her husband would have, if she became a widow and she inherited the property before her children were of age, she had every right to vote on behalf of her family. The whole concept of the original whole concept of our voting rights in this country were based off basically land ownership and being a patriarch, not a matriarch, but a patriarch of the family. And the idea was ultimately to foster, it was not to discriminate or to restrict the rights of other peoples. It was to say, do you own land? Then you have a vested interest. Are you the patriarch of your family? Then they were expected to have the wife and the children give input to the patriarch, to the father. Then he would go and vote. They would vote to elect a representative from their community. It was meant.
It was all local.
But it was also the dynamic of the way that you understand, or the way that you would learn and operate a representative republic, which is what our foundation is. Not a democracy, but a representative republic, is to have a wife and kids who didn't have a vote petition the father, husband, and say, this is our opinions on the matter. Now, not a perfect concept. There could be dads that didn't listen. But the idea was the strength of a family is fostered, which they've tried to destroy the family. But if you have a strong family, your wife is supposed to be scripturally your greatest advocate, your greatest, she's supposed to be basically the way the mafia is, your consigliere, your greatest sounding board, or your feedback. Okay, that's why women have women's intuition and men need to make decisions, because women have an insight and consent. They have more dynamic if we access it. That's a generalization. It's not an absolute. But the idea is that women, look at Trump. If you look at Trump and you guys go back and look at this, how many times he's referenced Melania, giving him advice, sitting down and talking with him, knowing his nature, knowing how he likes to just sit with people in general. I guarantee you his wife has offered him so much insight, and she's the one that told him, you need to calm down on this, you need to relax on this, you need to relax on that. Honey, you shouldn't do this, That's the gentle voice. The wife in a relationship is meant to be the embodiment of the Holy Spirit. We say that we're made in God's image, right? He made them in his image, male and female. And then we personify God as Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, all masculine. The Holy Spirit is the embodiment of the feminine within God. And if you understand that dynamic or intuition within yourself, then you have a sensitivity. I was raised by a woman predominantly for a number of years before I was adopted into the Gibbs family. Okay, so I've had that dynamic for quite a while. Point being, the original voting ideas were the wife. Okay, she couldn't vote, but she had every influence to tell her husband how to vote. And if you read the Founding Fathers, you read Abigail Washington, you read what was John Adams' wife? Trying to think of her name. You read the multitude of our Founding Fathers, their correspondence, just their correspondence. We don't have recordings of their private conversations. You read just their letters to each other. These women were badasses. They were heavily influenced their husbands and pulled them back sometimes from the brink of being men who just wanted to punch somebody out. Sometimes just advised them on things, cautioned them, empowered them, strengthened them. And those are the dynamics that I'm thinking of when we look at the voting rights. It wasn't to disenfranchise anybody. It was to empower the family. Then that family sends forth the husband, the patriarch, to then vote for somebody to represent the whole community collectively. Then that community sends somebody to the county. Then the county sends somebody to the House of Representatives. And there was all these dynamics, all these growing, you're representing me, I'm representing them, they're representing them, all these dynamics. And we miss that nuance nowadays. that it was meant to be that way. And certainly the right to vote has become this. In fact, our founding fathers cautioned against parties, cautioned against having only two parties, because they understood that it could become that duopoly of, am I rooting for the heel or the hero on the wrestling federation? It's like they're having beers afterwards. They're joking about it afterwards. They're actually athletes out there kicking each other's ass, but they've orchestrated whose ass is going to get kicked the worst at the end. You hear me?
I hear you.
So I'm looking at, you are exactly right that today it has become this duopoly, this facade of choice, because they're giving us a Republican and a Democrat, and behind the scenes they're voting 80 to 90% exactly the same.
They're voting 80-90% global neoliberalism.
Yeah. Patrick, you lead up.
On the worst side of things, you have Democrats are Marxists.
100%. Larry or Patrick, what are you going to say?
I was just reading the alligator Alcatraz thing here, so it's kind of interesting.
Oh, let's do that one before we go to Larry's going to go to the lightning round.
Yeah.
Alligator Alcatraz. Have you guys seen this stuff? Let's see. Wall feed. There it is. Alligator Alcatraz.
It's got its own little airport.
Yeah, it's got its own little airport. Well, that was the thing.
How fast did they build that? I mean, they must have just come up with this.
I don't know.
Boom, there it is.
Actually, it's a facility that's been around for a while.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they were using
the
it
airport
for something else. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I mean, they've upgraded it, but the facilities were there.
Yeah.
And
the airport and all?
So let's see. President Trump and Governor DeSantis lay out how the new detention center for criminal illegals was created. And they respond. Let me see if this is a quick clip here on.
Mr. President, you and the Secretary have both said that many people have self-deported since you came back into office. Yeah. How many is many, and has the rate gone up? How do you see the tempo of that moving forward going on?
Love that. Did you see what Trump did?
Over 1 million so far.
Look at that. Did you guys catch that? I want you to see that. This is a true leader, and I'm not, worshiping Trump in any way. But watch how, when he's connected with his people, watch how he does this.
Secretary have both said that many people have self-deported since you came back into office. Yeah. How many is many, and has the rate gone up? How do you see the tempo of that moving forward going on?
He didn't have to do, he literally waves his hand.
It's over 1 million so far.
We have had several 100,000, but also we have many that have self-deported, not even using the CBP home app. When I have gone to these other countries to negotiate security agreements and information sharing on criminals who's coming and going into their countries, they report that hundreds of thousands have come home that weren't on our radar, that they are coming home on their own and self-deporting because they want the chance to be able to go back to America someday. So we believe it's over 1 million, possibly more than that. I'm asking all of those countries for their information on what they have of individuals that may have returned home, that they have taking advantage of their programs to help them become a part of their civilization again too. So we know it's over 1 million, but we have to, I'm getting more information and that number will grow.
If you go home,
if they don't leave, they never get the chance to come back.
You
We have to take them out, and we will. They'll go out, but they never get a chance to come back. The other way, we actually make it a little bit easier for them to come back.
And I love this. So here's the huge dynamic on this is if you look at this beautiful facility, the map of it. The cool thing is he goes literally, it's alligators or a plane to deport you. Once you arrive here, this detention center, you're literally, there's two ways out.
Yeah.
Alligators or an airplane to the country of your original, your origin.
Yeah.
They should have just lowered. They should have had no walls around it. So just to make the point clear.
Well,
I don't think there is.
There are no.
There's just a fence there and then the moat.
Oh, okay. I
no
thought that. Is that a road?
Yeah, it's just a road around here.
Oh, okay. I thought that was a wall.
Yeah, this is a whole. This is a whole moat, dude.
Yeah.
And so it's quite interesting.
And they keep the alligators hungry.
That's what they're saying.
Yeah.
I think alligators themselves are just hungry by nature. So that's alligator Alcatraz. It's a pretty interesting dynamic, and I think it needs to happen. It sends a message.
There's some sharks in it too.
Well, this is all freshwater.
Some jellyfish.
Stale water, I say. I don't know. I can't see if the. Let me see.
Well, alligators can live in both, right? Saltwater or freshwater.
Brackish water, yeah.
Alligators can live, yeah. Well, alligators, crocodiles, are those photoshopped in?
No, well, yeah, there's a lot of them in
That's
there.
a lot, dude. That's a lot of critters in the water there. And those are huge, dude. Look at the size of the car vehicles versus those. I don't know how. Maybe they photoshopped it, maybe they didn't. I don't know, dude. That's a lot of.
That's it's not hard to believe. I got a picture at home of my wife holding an alligator.
Yeah.
She tried to hand it to me. I'm like, no way.
Well, and they I mean, if you go to the golf course there in Florida, you're gonna encounter some crocodilian type of.
Yeah, I don't play golf, so. Especially in Florida.
Yeah.
So.
But it might lose a hand.
Yeah, I do have a cool story here that came.
You ready to go, Larry?
That came across. Well, this isn't part of
What's this about Elon and the Don?
Oh, we kind of covered that a little bit, but the idea is Elon and the Donald they're dusting up again on the big beautiful bill. So
pick your poison.
Yeah.
And people need to realize, I get it. No bill's going to be perfect. I don't like omnibus bills. Right off the bat, I got a problem with the big beautiful bill.
Mm-hmm.
Right off the bat. But if these tax cuts don't pass in this bill, every average American in this country is going to pay an extra $3,000 in taxes this year.
Right.
So I'm taking it.
Yeah.
Well, and again,
is the bill perfect? Oh hell no, it's not. Not even close to being perfect.
Correct.
Yeah.
But and from what I understand, that the no tax on overtime has been changed. Now the Democrats and the rhinos have got together and turned it into a tax deduction at the end of the year. And like if you make $20 an hour. And your overtime, your time and a half is going to be $30 an hour. The portion that's going to be non-taxable is that $10 an hour.
Right.
So your basic pay of $20 an hour in this example is still taxable.
Right.
But it's the extra $10 per hour that
The overtime.
the actual overtime amount, which will still be taxed out of your paycheck. But you'll get it back at the end of the year.
Right.
Which is still better than paying $3,000 more because they didn't extend the tax cuts.
Well, I think this is where we come up with the dynamic of that I was trying to.
And there is an exemption for anybody that makes $160,000 a year or more.
Yeah.
Then you will pay.
Well, and that's where I was coming up with the dynamic with young Teddy. I call you young Teddy. Is that it's alter or abolish. The IRS is something that needs to be abolished. The CIA is something that needs to be abolished.
The DOT is something that needs to be abolished.
There's multiple organizations that need to be abolished, not reformed. You can't fix something that was wrong in the first place.
Right.
Get rid of it. Abolish it. Just the Fed Reserve, remove their charter. And then by way of removing their charter, remove the IRS, right? And Trump floated that initially, and I was very excited about that. Remove the IRS and make it a what was it called? ORS. It was outside.
Yeah. Well, I actually
tariff or whatever.
Oregon.
Yeah, I actually support something called the fair tax, which would totally eliminate the IRS and all of its employees. And the fair tax would be a national sales tax of 10% on everything you buy except food, medical, and housing. And I mean your house, not the furniture inside it.
Right.
I mean your house in one.
Abolish the income tax, or abolish the
property
income tax, everything else.
Abolish the income tax. You get rid of all those employees that they're paying all that money to.
Yeah.
What about inheritance
And then
tax and all that?
it needs to go too.
Oh, it needs to go.
What about when you resell something? It's kind of maddening to, I'm looking at buying a pontoon boat, and the people that I'm buying it from gave me their invoice for when they bought this boat back in 2017, and I'm looking at how much they paid in taxes and how much I'm going to have to pay in taxes on what they've already paid taxes on, which is ridiculous.
Right.
Ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. I think I agree with you, Larry, in principle. I would contest the number. I think 10% is an appeasement number. I'm not disagreeing with you, but I think 10% is an appeasement number.
Well, that's what I would support.
Well, but
anything
here's
more
the
than
thing.
that, then I don't support it.
There's been a couple different countries under good leadership where you nationalize the resources of the nation and you put those in the coffers. Trump has been very hardcore on tariffs, and a bunch of the left-wing media has had to admit that the tariffs are working. There is a definite...
they've been eating crow on everything. They've been wrong about every single thing that they've said. Everything. The Democrats have not been right about nothing. It's just why I won't listen to the Democrats and what they're saying about the big, beautiful bill. Oh, it's going to throw all these people. No, it's going to throw illegals off.
All they can do is throw negative bullshit at you.
Yeah.
I don't understand how you can vote for a felon. We got a felon as a president now.
He's only a felon because they framed him.
Yeah, because it was
they framed him.
Yeah, but
charged him with the crime that didn't
it's
exist.
maddening to have to explain that to some fucking libtard. That
Oh, you can't tell him nothing.
You can't tell him anything.
What was that? Did you read there something about stupid people know everything?
Stupid people know everything. What's the horrible joke that we've all heard? What do you tell a woman with two black eyes?
What?
Nothing. You done told her twice.
Oh man.
What do you tell a Democrat with two black eyes? Nothing.
What?
You done told him
You
twice.
just told him twice.
But that's the stupid shit.
What do you say to a Democrat in a three-piece suit? Will the defendant please rise?
I have to do it. But it's that dynamic of what we're this big beautiful bill. I just don't see. So what I was pushing back on is the 10%, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You nationalize the oil reserves we have. You. There are some things that I believe you can incorporate a level of what people would label as socialism. I don't think it's socialism. If CPS walks into my house and I've got small children and says to me, well, you have to have electricity and you have to have gas and you have to have, if they start to tell me that there are certain things that I have to have, or I'm violating their policy or their idea of negligence, then those are things that the state should provide. Okay? How much choice do you have in who provides your electrical?
Well, wait a minute. The Amish have no electricity.
Well, I'm granting that. What I'm saying is,
he's just giving an example.
I'm giving an example. What do you have in what choice do you have in electrical? What choice do you have in gas?
Right.
Now they came through a few years back. Well, actually, what was it? Fucking 30 years ago or 25 years ago. And they said, we're deregulating the gas industry and you can have your choice now of gas companies you can buy gas from. And my bill went up and I didn't change. I didn't switch my gas company and my bill increased. You know why? Because the original gas company that I was getting gas from at a certain price now became the wholesaler who could sell to 3 or 4 guys who were then buying it and trying to sell it to me for more money than what I was paying before. It was a scam from day one. You remember that?
Yeah.
So you didn't switch your gas company, but all of a sudden your bill went up. It didn't deregulate it. It fucked it up. So if I'm locked into a certain gas company, I'm locked into a certain electric company, I'm locked into a certain internet, which we only have one or, we got 3 main providers, right? Those are the type of things that I don't want the government to necessarily take over, because government likes to fuck everything up. But I think that those are industries that should be somewhat socialized. Okay? Because if I'm obligated to
Well,
that I only have one company that I can buy it from,
they fuck it up more. And
yeah.
And they just keep raising it up. Consumers Energy is just put in for another, I don't know how many $1 billion
it's
raise.
fucking ridiculous. I hope Larry covers it in Midwestern. But I'm looking at this dynamic. Here's all I'm saying about this, and I'll let you go, Larry. Is I'm looking at it from this standpoint is we have what are you clicking on? Oh, okay. We have, if we nationalize a lot of the resources of the country to where you still have private companies that are harvesting, you still have private companies that are contracting with it, but the profits, a lot of the profits, beyond the company's profits, go into the national coffers has been proven. This is why they took out Gaddafi in Libya. The reason they took out Gaddafi is because he wanted to take the profits that his country was making and traded. He wanted to start selling his oil in not the petrodollar, but in gold or dinar. Okay, That's why they took him out. At the time they took him out, you had a free college, you had free electrical grid supplies, you had some of the best infrastructure in the world. You got a year off if you got married. You got incentives to have families. You had a whole bunch of stuff, and they took him out. You know why? Number one, he wanted to get off the petrodollar. No, that was Gaddafi's sin, and Gaddafi was not a perfect man coming into office, but once he got there, he became a better man. That was Saddam's sin. Saddam was still a piece of shit. CIA piece of shit when they took him out. But that was his sin. He wanted to trade Iraqi oil in Iraqi dinars.
Euros.
I have 4 million Iraqi dinars myself, still to this day.
Are you one of those denarians?
No.
Yeah, okay, think.
I'm just.
I've met a few of the. You probably know what I'm talking about, the denarians, but
so that's a whole other subject. My point being is that anytime you go against this elite cabal, they will take you out if they can. We had 2 assassination attempts on Trump.
Blacklock, State Street,
yep, 100%.
and Vanguard.
Which is why we need a counter elite. Because I just want to go back to independence. Who were the founding fathers?
Well, you know what? We could do something about that if people would stop investing with those organizations. Yeah,
continue.
Who were the founding fathers? Like, what were their jobs? What statuses they have? Were they kind of have a theme of who signed the Declaration of Independence for the most part. They were a part of the colonial elite.
But they were part of the colonial elite because they earned it, not because they necessarily. I understand what you're saying, but the majority of them were colonial elite because they earned it.
So
the ones that were not the colonial, that were I think the ones you're thinking were the ones of aristocracy from the British colonies. But the ones who rebelled were the ones who were elite because they built that and they earned that. And they were the ones that said, I didn't inherit this. I didn't get this from the king. So me risking this, me putting this on the line has merit, has.
But, I'm not trying to, when I mean elite, I mean like actual elite. We have the colonial elite. The colonial elite were leading the 3%.
Yes.
Of the foot soldiers. Yes. That's what we need. We 100%. Need a counter elite.
I'm agreeing with you.
They need to be, we need to have actual power backing what we say.
Yes.
And we can't,
I think that's what was exciting about Elon and Trump being a billionaire, Elon being a bigger billionaire. And I think that's what the difficulty or the disappointment with some of us is going, why are you guys fighting now? Because of it's not that people won't have disagreements. He said it today when he was talking with, I think it was Bondi or somebody, one of the press conferences Trump did today. Oh, no, it was DeSantis. It was DeSantis talking about alligator Alcatraz. You guys can go look this up. I'm not going to play the clip for you, but he said, we're here, we're talking about alligator Alcatraz, and this is good. And he's like, and Ron, You know, he goes, Governor DeSantis, a good friend of mine, a real good friend. He's like, we've had our disagreements in the past, and maybe we'll have some disagreements in the future. Hopefully not too much, but you know, we might have a couple. And if you listen to the way Trump gave the statement, I think he was shedding light on not just him and DeSantis and the dust-ups they've had in the past, but on what's currently going on with him and Elon, is they'll work it out. And I think the most difficult thing that you have, and I've certainly had a number of times in the last couple of years where I have had my disagreements with people either that have been on the show or in the political sphere locally. Major disagreements. Never exposed, never did a huge expose on the information that I had, and I got information, baby. Emails, text messages, a lot of dirt on people. And the reason I don't do that is because I have the expectation that they that they take care of their own house. And I don't go out of my way to attack people, even though I watched many of those same people attack my friends. When they were the person doing the attacking was collectively my friend, and I turned around and said, what the hell are you doing? Well, they're blah, 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 and they try to do this. So I get that dynamic is all I'm saying. So I agree with you.
I think, too, if I may go back, I think if we had a counter elite, our current elite is all, we need a counter elite that is also righteous, right? An example to be upholded.
Right.
What do we have right now? You can say Elon and Trump, but they're not the most righteous of people. You can say, they can clean their own house, but I think back in the colonial days, these colonial elites were like, they were successful, built up, but they were also just morally, they had a moral compass and were morally righteous.
Well,
and they were like, they would support their own local communities and all that. Like,
I get that, but I'll push back on you. They tried to attack Trump for years since he declared that he was running, and they couldn't find any dirt on him. Not a single thing. Otherwise, they would have used it.
Yep.
They couldn't find a single disgruntled employee that would testify against him. They went after Bannon. They went after Stone. They went after Flynn. They went after multiple other people to try to get him to turn against Trump. And they said, I won't bear false witness. Trump, that's all they said to him. Every single one of them. Just give us some dirt on Trump and we'll wipe your slate clean. And every one of them said, there's no dirt. There's no dirt. So I get what you're saying, Teddy. I also understand that our founding fathers, this from the media, at least the last 10 years, maybe 20 years, have painted Jefferson as one who exploited his slaves, ended up shacking up with one of his slaves and fathered. It's been proven that he fathered children with his one, was Mary, whatever her name was, one of his primary slaves. Multiple founding fathers owned slaves, and they've tried to smear our founding fathers with that, not understanding that many of the founding fathers inherited these slaves with property, with physical land property, and that in order to free those, it was almost impossible to free those slaves because of the way that they were encumbered with the piece of land, like they were owned with the land. So I get what you're saying, 100%, is the moral character of our founding fathers. But I think I would say take a look at that prism, that our founding fathers had their flaws. They were called privateers. Larry, is that the privateers? But our founding fathers many times were reduced to piracy to fund the revolution. Maybe our founding fathers grew what our good Christian constituents out there would consider to be bad. They grew pot, hemp, not just industrial hemp, but also marijuana. Okay. What do you think the Indians were smoking when they were smoking a peace pipe? It wasn't tobacco. Tobacco was introduced to them in the colonies. They were smoking some good reefer. You also, I mean, Samuel Adams is one of our founding fathers, and there's a whole beer line because he did beer. So I'm just saying is that
I think compared to what we have now is elites.
correct.
That's the founding fathers.
Yeah.
In their own sense, they were more in touch with their local communities and colonies.
That I will
That's
give
what
you.
I'm trying.
That I will give you.
But
That I
our
will give you.
elite are an international cabal of bankers,
100%.
usurers, or
100%.
and,
Yeah, I'm not trying to disagree with you. I'm trying to clarify.
yeah.
I'm trying to clarify.
And another thing too, I just want to go back to Independence Day. Did we declare independence against the crown, or was it something else? Who was the one raising the taxes on the colonies?
They literally say it in the Declaration of Independence that this current king of England. So they say, I stopped there when I was reading, and such has been the patient sufferings of these colonies, and now, such is now the necessity which constrains them to alter the form of system of government. The history of the present king of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having the direct object of establishing an absolute tyranny over these states. To prove this, let facts be submitted to a candid world. And then they list out the whole thing. So they were charging literally directly the King of England.
But was he the one introducing the Stamp Acts, the Sugar? That's it's because they're probably talking about more of the crown, because the crown is actually the institutional sovereign entity that is Britain and England and the empire.
Right. I mean, the Magna Carta changed a lot, but the king was still quite the sovereign. I think the religious
the
leaders,
Parliament had more power by the time of the 1700s, because you had the English Civil War, which was between the king and the Parliament.
Right.
Parliament won that.
Yeah,
King got
the
executed.
War of the Roses, War of the...
No, I'm talking about like 1600s English Civil War. Okay. Oliver Cromwell.
Yeah.
And you ever seen the movie with the guy that played Obi-Wan?
Yeah.
The Cromwell movie. It's a good movie.
Yeah.
Where they they fight the Civil
War.
Was
it Liam Neeson or was it?
No. It was the guy that played like Obi-Wan in Episode 4. I forget his name. Really old.
Oh, Alec Guinness.
Alec Guinness, yeah.
He played Cromwell?
Yeah, no, he didn't play, he played King Charles. Someone else played Cromwell.
Okay.
But Alec Guinness got beheaded, and then you got the executioner holding up his eyes like, "Behold the head of a traitor."
Nice. Larry, you got some time, buddy. Let's crank it out.
I do. And in the first story, we're going to go to the Huffington Post.
HuffPost?
Yeah.
HuffPo?
What have they been huffing today?
I don't know.
This was brand new.
Like
it popped up across my screen. So the Supreme Court just tossed several rulings that favored transgender Americans. The Supreme Court tossed out several lower court rulings that favored transgender people in 4 states less than a week after the conservative majority of justices upheld a ban on gender-affirming care for transgender youth. The High Court on Monday overturned rulings that stopped discriminatory practices barring coverage for gender-affirming care in state health insurance plans in North Carolina, West Virginia, Idaho from going into effect. Supreme Court Justice also vacated a ruling from appeals court that found out Oklahoma's executive order denying transgender people from amending their sex marker and their birth certificates was unconstitutional.
Mm-hmm.
In each of these cases, the lower courts found that policies excluding coverage for medical care or denying access to proper documentation to transgender people violated the Constitution's Equal Protection Clause. The lower courts must now re-examine these cases in light of the Supreme Court's June 18th decision that upheld Tennessee's ban on puberty blockers and hormone therapies for transgender minors. The 6-3 ruling in the United States versus Germetti did not weigh in on other laws involving transgender people, but did close certain legal pathways to challenge other states' ban on gender-affirming care for minors.
I think that's the key to that, isn't it, Larry?
So,
it's the
and I think
dynamic.
that's something we need to talk about. We need to substitute transgender care for minors to, let's call it sexual mutilation surgeries.
Yeah, the pedos are going after our kids.
You're right. That's exactly what it
Mhm.
is.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, this is what it is. These are common sense rulings.
Right.
I mean, you're talking about ending child abuse.
100%.
I mean, this is what it's
And
about.
this is a greater subject, but we probably need to sit down and do a couple shows. Me and Teddy can hash out some historical stuff because I love it. I love the
Yeah.
dynamics of it. But also this idea of I was thinking about today is why are they going after these kids?
Right.
Well, there's a couple passages in scriptures talking about being made eunuchs, and there's also a passage where Paul says if you know, no matter what station you're born into, if you're a slave, be a good slave. But if you can gain your freedom, then do so. What most people don't historically understand is that the slavery in the Roman world back then was not exclusive to just doing laundry and chores.
Right. And the next story.
Let me just last sentence. The majority of the time, slavery in the Roman world back then meant sex slaves. You were required not just to take care of the property, but you were have to take care of the property. And most people don't get that dynamic.
Everybody can use a sex slave.
Stop. So there's that dynamic of understanding that, and what they liked back then was eunuchs. They liked people that could not procreate, but could facilitate. And so this whole transgender cult is about creating that. It's a modern day spirit of going against the law of God, that to be fruitful and multiply from Genesis.
Genesis is a good book.
And to pervert the order of God.
When the Sasanians, I'm trying to remember which Shah it was. I was going to go with Shapur, Shah Persia. He basically reformed the whole system of Persian governments, where in his time he appointed eunuchs as governors for a lot of provinces.
Because they didn't have they couldn't be coerced.
They couldn't be coerced, and they didn't have kids or anything like that.
Correct. Yeah, they were one and done. And there's different dynamics of eunuchs. There could be eunuchs that just have their testicles removed. There could be eunuchs that have their whole units removed and had to sit to pee. You know, and in fact, it was a test of courage if you voluntarily were a eunuch and had your balls and dangle removed, and you survived that process because it was not the most sanitary situation, and then you were able to recover from that. You were appointed to office because you were a badass, even though you now had no testosterone and had man tits. Anyways, Larry, continue with the next article.
So this next story is out of the Midwesterner.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, Midwesterners.
Yes, and we're going to talk about a friend of mine and a friend of this show.
Okay.
And that would be Senator Jim Runstead.
Oh, we love Senator Runstead.
Yes,
He's awesome.
Senator Runstead is also the chair of the Michigan Republican Party.
Yeah.
And Senator Runstead praises Supreme Court ruling upholding parental rights. Thank God. Michigan Senator Jim Runstead, Republican White Lake, is praising the U.S. Supreme Court decision issued Thursday that affirms the rights of parents to opt their children out of sexually explicit materials in public classrooms. The ruling stems from a Maryland case, but has sparked renewed debate over parental rights and curriculum. Over parental rights and curriculum content across the country, including here in Michigan. I am incredibly grateful that the U.S. Supreme Court had the courage to take up this essential issue, and even more thankful that they ruled in favor of the Maryland parents who brought this case forward, Runstead said to the press on Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
The ruling in Muhammad versus Taylor determined that school district must respect parental authority in determining what content their children are exposed to, particularly regarding sensitive or explicit material. While the case originated out of state, Runstead said its implications hit home here in Michigan, where similar debate over age-appropriate content and parental input have intensified in recent years. Senator Runstead was a strict follower of everything that went on in Heartland. Right? He would call me on a weekly basis to get updates.
Right.
And what's going on with Heartland schools.
Yeah.
Following this decision, Runstead posted on X highlights and key passage from the court's majority opinion written by Justice Samuel Alito. We have long recognized the rights of parents to direct the religious upbringing of their children, and we have held that those rights are violated by government policies that substantially interfere with the religious development of children. This ruling is a step towards restoring parental rights in America. Runstead continued, rights that have been eroded by far-left extremists seeking to silence parents.
I think the correct pronunciation is Chirin.
Chirin?
Chirin. But that's, you're doing a great job, man. Go ahead. Chirin. We love Runstead. He's awesome. I spoke to him like 2 weeks ago. Less than 2 weeks ago.
Aha.
All right.
Are you ready? And the next story.
Yeah.
Again, thanks to the headlines in the
Gretchen
Midwesterner.
Whitless? Is it Whitless?
Yes.
Whitmer?
Just 12 out of 404 Democrats polled want Gretchen Whitmer to run for president in 2028.
Booyah, bitch. Nobody wants you. You look like Caitlyn Jenner.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh. She does. Holy smokes, look at that.
It's a man, baby.
Holy crap, look at that.
It's like from South Park where they give Gretchen one. She's like, "Buckle up, buckaroos," and she'll just run over.
It's Caitlyn Whitmer.
Oh, now here we go. After more than $189 million from taxpayers, LG won't build EV batteries at New Holland plant as promised.
Aw.
Yep.
We spent $180 million of taxpayer money. No big deal.
No big deal.
Let's figure out how we can tax the EVs now.
Yes.
What we'll do is we'll replace the gas tax and just do a driving tax, but we won't actually get rid of the gas tax.
You know what? Probably the executives of that company were appalled by
Now,
trying
how
to
did
deal
they
with
get
her.
a shot like that? Look at that picture. How do you get a shot like
Troll?
that?
A troll?
Jocelyn Benson runs to Whitmer-appointed judge to get a protective order from the House Oversight Committee. Why?
That's a man, baby.
Why would she not want to go before the Oversight Committee?
Because they have something against her that she knows probably around the election.
Well, let's
2020.
see. Michigan Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson believes House Republicans are bullying her because she's running for governor, and she's asking for protection from the Michigan Court of Claims.
Wait, are you
Benson
getting bullied?
filed a legal response last week to a lawsuit filed in the Court of Claims by the House Oversight Committee in early June over election training documents that Secretary of State has refused to provide without redactions.
Wait. Let me get this right. Jocelyn Benson, poor sweetheart, you feel like you're being bullied? Aren't you the same bitch who had 16 people arrested who were lawfully impaneled to be alternate delegates to cast presidential electoral votes?
Yep.
Didn't you have those 16 people prosecuted and attacked? Didn't you go against one of your political opponents? Not as you're like directly running. Now you're running for governor, but you weren't then. But we had Ryan Kelly on the show, who did 2 months, was convicted and did 2 months in jail?
Yes.
Because of you.
Well,
and now
no,
you're claiming to be bullied? Fuck you.
It's a good thing. She needs to be bullied.
Go, Larry.
Yeah.
Called
Okay,
karma.
the case stems from legislative records requesting data requests dating back to November for documents available in the digital format of the Secretary of State's e-learning center and used by thousands of local election clerks and staff members. After multiple delays and an initial bill for $9,000, Benson's office produced a fraction of the documents requested, and the Oversight Committee issued a subpoena for all the unredacted documents.
But you're bullying me.
The House later voted to hold Benson in contempt when she refused to provide them.
And they won't do anything to her.
Right.
Benson, Nessel, and Whitmer. The three. What was that movie called? The Three Witches. The Witches of this week. The Witches of.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's. These witches work together. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Benson's going to cover Nessel. Nessel's going to cover Benson. Whitmer's going to cover them. And how many was it? 22 out of 404?
Yeah, in her legal response, Benson argues that the documents contain sensitive election information.
Yeah, information
that could be leaked to bad actors.
Yeah. You know what those bad actors are? They're the people that are actually paying attention to the 2020 election and know that you fucked it hardcore and then arrested or were complicit in having alternate electors arrested and the dude who was running for governor arrested because he spoke out. What a piece of shit.
Yes.
I can't say anything. Go. What's the next? What's the last one, Larry?
Someone get him an S-bomb.
Oh, yeah.
Representative Lori Pahutsky.
Pahutsky? I think the H is sound.
Pahutsky?
You can't even say it.
Pootsky?
I don't know.
Poopsky.
Poots.
Yeah.
Punchki?
Lori Poopsky.
Is it a punch? Because that's spelled fucked up. Dude, Punchki's.
Blast Michigan State Police after Ted Nugent brings gun into Capitol in violation of policy.
I was going to bring up Ted Nugent.
I love Ted Nugent.
Dude, he lambasts. He's like, get rid of the fucking the DNR.
Yeah.
And the other one, what was the other one? Department of Natural Resources and the other agency. He's like, there's a young man at my ranch that got a ticket for not having his bow in a case. He goes, who the hell are you to tell me that my bow not being fully zipped up in a case? Are you kidding me? And the other one was
something about the science behind that.
Yeah, he goes, and I got a ticket for
wild boars.
We could. Yeah, he goes, yeah,
feral boars.
Feral boars.
Yeah.
He goes, a feral boar is a formerly domesticated animal that's then released out in the wilderness. He goes, these were pigs we were hunting on my land. They weren't feral. They weren't feral Russian boars.
Yeah,
that's what they're called.
right.
Feral Russian boars. He goes, there's no such thing as a Russian boar. Once it leaves Russia, it's just a pig. And he goes, and they called him a feral Russian boar. And he goes, a feral pig or feral boar is a boar that was formerly in captivity that's now been released into the wild.
Yeah.
It's then become feral. These were on my private property within the fencing. They weren't released. So they weren't feral. They weren't Russian, but they were boars.
Yeah, wasn't there something about baiting too that he talked about?
I think
because I thought he said something about apples falling off of trees, and you want to write me a ticket for
baiting
for a pile of carrots or something. Yeah,
it's bullshit. It's all fucking bullshit.
The liberals are completely destroying the state of Michigan. They really are.
He went on to say that they've destroyed the sports that sport because number one, families are leaving the state of Michigan. Number two, people are getting out of the sport in the state of Michigan. They're going to other. I have a personal friend of mine. He leases a major chunk of property down in Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because he doesn't have to deal with this bullshit.
Exactly.
And he hunts nationally, but he's got a property down there that he's got set up for hunting.
Here, this is only 2.5 minutes. Let me play this.
These policies would qualify as insane. And
you got it.
18-year-old boy who got into bow hunting because of my TV show that's insanity. And the people who enforce it and create these policies would qualify as insane. And they've ran people out of this state. An 18-year-old boy who got into bow hunting because of my TV show got a ticket because his bow case wasn't zipped up. There's a law in Michigan that wildlife policy has to be based on science. What's the science of a bow case? So I got rid of that law. When I started hunting, some man thought he had control whether I hunted out of a tree or not. Is that man in attendance here that has control over my tree climbing? No man has control over my tree climbing. There were 11 counties that it was forbidden to hunt on Sunday. Who is the man that can intervene between God's nature and my recreational, sporting, spirit connection to the good earth that can tell me that somehow mysteriously the hunting season ends when the sun goes down on Saturday? That's insane. So we got rid of that law. I beg you, on behalf of the people that come up to me every day, get rid of these insane violations of Prop G that says the game laws have to be based on science. And then the DNR sued me, and it said in the suit, this is funny. This is funny. They claim I had feral Russian boar. Well, for all of you who went to school in America, feral is an escaped domestic animal. My pigs were on the preserve. They hadn't escaped. So I'm being sued for something that doesn't exist. And Russian boar, there's no such species as a Russian boar. A Russian boar can only be a male pig that lives in Russia. It's not a species. I asked them, would you sue me for having pterodactyls? Because I have as many pterodactyls as I have feral Russian boar. And after tens of thousands of wasted hard-earned dollars, some judge finally went, yeah, I guess they're not feral and they're not Russian and some of them are females. I hope this pisses you off because everybody that comes up to me is just livid. The DNR and the NRC have chased families out of the sport over absolutely insane anti-nature, anti-science regulations.
That's beautiful. And that's what I was referring to.
That guy, see, he's got a gift for speaking. He does. I mean, he can put things far better than the average person.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's very articulate.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was his talking about the and it's just bullshit all the way across the board. Now you're gonna play sounds. Did you see that? I exit out of that and it automatically plays the sound. And I try to get the other one to play the sound.
Yeah,
the computers, dude. I was in where's I was at Taco Bell today. Pulled in there for lunch. Their computer crashed. I'm trying to just check out. Sherry took my order. I couldn't check. They had to restart the little computer, restart the thing to take my credit card. And I goes, dude, I got 6 computers to run the podcast. Yeah. I feel for you, buddy. Yeah. It took them 10 minutes.
Oh, shit.
To reboot that whole fucking thing.
It'd be tough. So your food was cold by the time.
No, it wouldn't go through until I paid.
Oh, okay.
But it took them 10 minutes to reboot the whole thing so I could pay it. Yeah. And I'm like, and he's like, they're just, the gal that was initially waiting on me and the manager, they're both just apologizing. So sorry, sir. We're sorry. And I'm like, dude, I get it.
Yeah.
I said, that's why they don't have Windows operating systems on airplanes, because you don't want to control alt delete at 30,000 feet.
No. No.
Larry, you got one last one. We've got to go to final thoughts.
No, let's just go to final thoughts.
What did you have?
There isn't anymore.
You got
nothing? That's all I planned on covering. That's it. We covered them all.
Okay. Mr. Acton, I'll let you. I'll ask you to, or let you. I'll ask you to.
I'm thinking about what's going on here with
you don't like
Ted. No, I don't like that. I'm not a pink guy. I'm like green.
I think it was pink. I thought it was like hot red.
It's hot pink.
Oh, there is one more. I was
so fuck you, Larry. Go ahead.
All right, and here it is. There was one more. My bad. Now it's Senator Jim Runstead bill requires state prisons to track and report immigration status. That's a good thing.
Okay.
State Senator Jim Runstead wants Michigan to enforce federal immigration laws and he introduced legislation on Wednesday to ensure it is. Illegal immigration is not a victimless crime. It robs opportunities for work from unemployed and underemployed citizens and legal residents, and it costs the states tremendous amount of money, the White Lake Republicans said in a statement. Thanks to the Trump administration, illegal border crossings are at a historic low, but Michigan also needs to do its part.
All right.
That is Senator Runstead, also the chair of the Michigan Republican Party.
Okay.
And all these stories and more at the Midwesterner.news.
Okay. Now I'm going to let Patrick finish.
Yeah, sorry about that.
What a dick. Patrick.
Ted Nugent, he
Super Nuge.
well, he has the financial fortitude to be able to fight these things. Most people don't.
Right.
And these DNR guys, and they think they're gods. I remember when I was a kid, they come right on my farm and fuck with us. It's like my grandmother gave him a piece of her mind and threw him the hell off the property, but still, they can make your life hell.
Mm-hmm.
And he can financially withstand it. We can't. He had this big bitch about the fact that he went into the state capitol with a sidearm. He said he didn't trust the security.
And he went through the metal detector and they didn't detect it.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Proving that their security was shit.
Yeah.
If he can go through and he was not trying to hide anything, I mean, he had it concealed, but he wasn't trying to hide anything.
Well, it didn't look like I'm watching that video, I couldn't see any trace of a firearm.
That's what I'm saying.
I
read the whole article.
But this crazy representative says, what's her name? Poopski?
They outlawed guns already in the Capitol because of their bullshit arguments.
Mm-hmm.
Continue, Patrick.
Well, at any rate, it's for the average citizen. We put you in a position of what do you do?
Right.
How do you protect yourself against assholes like this? Trump can do it, but they buried Giuliani and Steve Bannon. Those guys are financially well off as well. This warfare shit that the left comes up with has got to go, and it doesn't stop. I mean, it's a nonstop thing. Oh, in the state of Michigan now, if you're 70 years old, you have to go through extra eye exams and cognitive exams just to get your driver's license renewed. Oh, they have a new law in the state of Michigan that your hands need to be at 10 and 2 on the steering wheel. If they see that your hands aren't on the steering wheel 10 and 2, they can pull you over and give you a ticket. That is effective as of today. Okay? This is bullshit. Yeah. And this shit needs to stop. I loathe the Democrats that push this shit through. It wasn't too long ago we were talking about the Corporate Transparency Act.
Mm-hmm.
That created a huge amount of stress in my world.
I drive a manual transmission. How am I supposed to keep my hands at 10 and 2?
Oh, I don't know. A good question.
Driving truck at 70?
No. But
these fucking people don't think logically. Come on, continue, Patrick.
At any rate, this shit has got to stop. I don't know how we stop it other than voting these people out. But you got the morons in Detroit, Flint, and the Grand Rapids that vote these assholes in. And I don't know how you change that.
Sometimes you just can't fix stupid.
Well, no, that's about right.
You can vote it out of office, but you can't fix it.
Yeah.
And you can vote in socialism, but you cannot vote it out.
Yeah, well, they're actually trying to elect a full-blown communist
in New York. Yeah. Fucking idiot.
Yeah.
But that's the dynamic is you can vote in these socialistic policies, you can't vote them out. That's why I'm very cautious when I say we should have some of these things nationalized, because I'm not talking about making it all socialist. I'm talking about the necessities should be available to all, and the resources should benefit all. But the rest of that shit, no. Listen, I'll nationalize the oil fields overnight. No property tax, no income tax, no fucking with my life, no the rest of it. It's got to work hand in hand. The most amount of government to affect, or the least amount of government to affect the. Wait till I hit the over button. Go. Thank you. Don't add your little graffiti, your gang symbol shit. Your trucker gang symbol shit. Is Teddy gonna? Are you gonna sign right away, Teddy?
No, I'll do it after Larry.
Okay. All right. Go.
So what I want to talk about now is
Being
everybody
Larry.
should be feeling pretty good right now because we are winning. Donald Trump is winning. Everything that the Democrats said has turned out to be wrong. There is no inflation because of the Trump tariffs. And, there was no constitutional violation in what Trump did in Iran. And the benefits of what Trump did in Iran are being felt around the world right now. Let's hope they stay that way.
I love the memes.
Oh, I know. The memes are awesome. Did you see the one? I shared one with my wife about former McDonald's employee saves the world from nuclear war.
I like that one. Yeah.
What's the ones that are cracking me up are the ones with the kids.
Yeah. Oh,
or the cartoons.
Yeah.
The cartoons, and he's like, "Okay, you guys calm down in the back seats." He's like, "I'm gonna give you 15 seconds to calm down," and they keep slapping each other. He goes, "Why aren't they calming down?" He goes, "They're gonna keep going until the 15 minutes is up, and then we'll get after them." Stupid fucking people, dude. I'm going to slap you, but I'm going to give you time to move your head mostly out of the way before I slap you. You know it's coming. 3, 4. Stupid. Larry.
All right. I am actually trying to send you something.
Actually
right now trying to send you something.
Okay. Are you done with your final thought? I'll go to Teddy. We're over our time.
No, I'm done with my final thought, but I want you to play this news video. It's pretty important.
Shit, Larry.
See if it comes up.
Larry Parsons.
Do we have sound?
I don't know.
There we go.
You know what? It wants to play sound, but it doesn't. Did it play the sound? What the hell was that?
I don't know if they're...
Dude, sometimes shit doesn't just doesn't happen. Oh my God, where's the fucking sound? Oh, it's all the way at the top. So stupid. No.
Then because he dared to walk on the floor while she was mopping. Has the woman been arrested yet?
Not yet. We're waiting for the floor to dry.
Here at the scene of a shocking incident. A woman killed her husband because he dared to walk on the floor while she was mopping. Has the woman been arrested yet?
Not yet. We're waiting for the floor to dry.
Here at the scene of a shocking incident. A woman killed her husband because he dared to walk on the floor while she was mopping. Has the woman been arrested yet?
Not yet. We're waiting for the floor to dry.
Waiting for the floor.
Wait.
I will give you that one.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Now to finish my thought, what I was about to say. Everybody's got to feel good about what's going on right now, but now is not a time to sit back and throw your feet up. We got to put the pedal to the metal because we got a lot of Democrats to defeat in the next coming election.
And that's a big problem.
That's my thought.
Because the Republican Party is effed.
They are.
From a guy that was in it, who had to hire an attorney to get out of it.
Right.
I won't go back into it.
Yeah.
You know?
What's up?
Not in Genesee County, anyway. I do it in other ways.
Yeah.
Does anybody even remember what it means to have the pedal to the metal? Because our floorboards are all carpet and fucking plastic and rubber now.
Yeah.
You know, I drove 1 or 2 vehicles where you hit the pedal to the metal.
Yeah.
There was it was a metal shaft with the pedal on it, and you could slam it down to the metal frame.
Yeah.
Teddy has no clue. Teddy, go. Final thoughts, you crazy. Get it. Okay, and then Teddy, go.
All right, well.
Oh, shit, that was way off. No, go, Teddy. I'm just adjusting your camera.
Oh, okay. My final thought is that, well,
interesting last 250 years for our country. I wonder where the next 250 years will take it.
If we make it.
Yeah, if we can keep it. Anyways, besides that,
Yeah.
we became a country because we were tired of bullshit, but a system of power, of tyranny, that was overtaxing us without any proper representation
Mm-hmm.
or saying it. Now, some people will say the King of England, but that was the crown as a sovereign entity of Britain, and Parliament was the ones that were actually giving out the taxes. Besides that, what we see now compared to the rest of the world of taxation rates and all that is that when you were in ancient Egypt, you would have 20% of your harvest or income.
Mm-hmm.
But as we now know, we pay way more of that in our current free society. Income tax, property tax, what name you, state, local. But the purpose of a proper functioning society or state is to keep private property in the hands of families, farmers, local communities. This will be, we need this in order for family building, strong social health of a society, and all that. What it is not meant to do, and a sign of how bad things are, is that we are allowing, as a Leviathan, as a state, as an entity, as a government, we are allowing moneylenders, speculators, and all the other rabble that we have in the elite today, buying up land so people cannot afford proper housing and people cannot have families and we cannot have a proper community structure. Along with this, we are also taxing out the wazoo of property taxes and all this other ridiculous stuff. So what I'm thinking is what we need in the near future if things keep going down this road, because, Trump's not going to fix everything. Things might be good now, but what happens after Trump? What we need to consider, and I'd encourage everybody to think about this, is that what if we need a second Declaration of Independence where we form our own institutions, righteous institutions, and disengage from all the institutions of evil that are causing the suffering and division and decline of the current day?
I will not disagree with you in principle. I love your youthfulness. I will say I'm just going to go to a few things. I'm going to do this. That was great, Teddy. I appreciate it. I got a few final thoughts real quick. We're long in the tooth, long past the hour of when we normally quit. It's Larry's fault, of course. That goes without saying. But let's look at this real quick. Robin Williams knew the world would need this picture one day. There's the guy sitting there. Hands in the toilet paper. So you get that one. This one right here. No, I want to go to this one first. I'll go back to that one. Gretchen Whitmer was one of the five worst governors during the COVID that led to the deaths, led to more deaths than needed. Shameful. We'll never forget. So 45 out of the 50 U.S. governors did not force COVID-19 infected patients to go to nursing homes, but 5 of them did. Andrew Cuomo, Tom Wolf, Phil Murphy, Gavin Newsom, and Gretchen Schmear Whitmer. What do they all have in common, Larry?
Communists.
Democrats.
Same thing.
That is nearly 40% of all COVID-19 deaths in the United States. It's not an accident. It is a premeditated murder. Murder! Anyways.
And nothing will happen out of it. That's the thing that sucks.
Yeah. Here's my last one, and I will go back to Teddy for this one. Teddy, show your shirt, buddy.
Oh.
What does it say?
I am Mark Sargent.
What's that a picture of? Is that the UN logo?
No, that's his...
Is that the UNESCO logo?
I think.
Is that the UNICEF logo? Yes. The answer is yes. And it's also the Flat Earth map. Back to me. Thank you, Teddy, for throwing it back to me. Here it is. Phone technology, 1969, 2018. We go from a push-button phone to a cell phone. 1969 TV technology to 2018. 1969 VW Beetle to 2019. 1969, we land on the moon, apparently, supposedly, maybe. And 1918, we can't, the head of NASA. This is a quote in 2018. We can't go back to the moon because we don't have the technology anymore.
Yeah. Well, I would venture to say that that Volkswagen Beetle on the left up there is a far better car than the one on the right.
Right?
Yep, I've owned a few of those.
The people's.
Yeah,
I
people's
rode
car.
in one as a kid.
Yeah.
You know, Hitler was a genocidal piece of shit.
Yeah.
But he built a nice car.
Well, he didn't, but
Built
the
nice
German
cars.
people
It was commissioned by. He commissioned Porsche to do it.
Yeah.
It was actually commissioned by Porsche.
Yeah.
I'll say this. They're lying. Dun, dun, dun. They're lying across the board. And if you don't realize that they're lying to you about all this shit and the things that matter most, then you won't get the dynamics of what we're going through. Okay?
You know what you don't have up there?
What?
And really should be up there? Your grandmother's refrigerator on the left and the latest one you can buy on the right. The grandma's refrigerator, which cost maybe like $200 back in the day, that's still running today.
Yeah.
And the one on the right that costs you $4,000 that dies in 5 years. Okay? Planned obsolescence.
If it lasts 5 years.
If it lasts.
If it lasts 5 years.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah, my last fridge was a Frigidaire.
Yeah.
And the seals were all falling off the bottles of the doors within 5 years.
It's all bullshit. It all was bullshit.
All right. What's your final thought?
This is my final thought. Is they're
Keep
lying to
interrupting,
us.
sorry.
No, my final thoughts are lying to us across the board. And if we don't, I shared it earlier in the show. Okay, ignorance. When you reject things without investigation, we need to stop rejecting things. I've been threatening to launch a show for quite some time now. It won't be necessarily this live format. It'll be a pre-recorded thing. But I want to launch a show called, another quote from Aristotle is the mark of an educated mind to be able to entertain an idea without embracing it. Can you entertain an idea? Across the board, can you entertain these ideas? We use the word repent in church. Most people say, and it's grammatically correct or from the definitions we have, to feel bad for your sin. Yes, that is what the word repent means in the old French or early English. Repentor, okay, means to feel contrition or remorse for one's past actions. But the actual Greek word is metanoia or metanoiai. It means to think differently. So when you read through the New Testament scriptures again, specifically the Gospels, the 4 canonical Gospels we have in our canon of scripture, substitute the word think differently or to change your mind. Every time John the Baptist, Jesus, predominantly, the 2 main figures, say repent for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. They were saying think differently, not feel bad for sin, change your mind. I do not have to feel bad for something I've done to understand that I need to change the way I think about what I did. I may feel bad. I may feel like I've done something. I may know that I've done something wrong, and I may feel bad in that moment. But I don't have to feel bad in order to recognize that I was wrong. And this is the problem that we have, is we can't even entertain an idea enough to even think about address a concept that I need to change my mind. And we're so steeped in our long-held beliefs and ideologies that we will go to war with each other, that we agree with 80, 90%. We'll go to war with each other over things that we've never even taken the time to challenge, investigate, and potentially change our mind about. That's the things we need to continually do, because we can have Elon and Trump fighting together. We can have all sorts of other things going. We've got to work together, and that means understanding each other and not having our ego and our pride, as Larry brought up earlier, so entrenched that we can't at least entertain that I might be wrong. You know why I pride myself? And I use that term loosely. I'm satisfied or at peace.
Mhm.
I don't want to be right so that I can sit there and argue with somebody else and prove myself right. I want to be right because I need to lay my head on my pillow at night and know that God will say to me one day, well done, good and faithful servant.
But you don't look like a pride guy. Your hair's not, burnt orange or pink, and you're not wearing a butt plug and dancing around the street naked, and you're not pretending to be a woman or anything like that. So I don't see you as being a pride guy.
All I'll say to that is, Patrick, thank you for recognizing that I keep a
doesn't
good
have a butt
reputation
plug.
with a few outsiders. With that, guys, thank you. Like, share, and subscribe. Do all that stuff on there. Appreciate everybody lasting with us. Do all that stuff. If you want to support the show, go to thealexjonesstore.com/thisismybrain. thealexjonesstore.com/thisismybrain. Buy something on there. I use several products on there. I use I use the methylene blue. I use the sea moss. I use the brain force. I use a bunch of stuff. I love it. It helps me through my day. They're good supplements. They're awesome stuff. There's also great t-shirts and other things on there. But anyways, that's how you support the show. With that, guys, catch you next time.
This is my brain.
Dad, that's an egg.
Yeah, that's an egg.
Honey,
Dude.
that's an egg.
Seriously.
That's an egg.
It's a metaphor.
It's still an egg.
That's an egg.
I would challenge you.
That's an egg.
I know my brain is not actually an egg, okay? It's a metaphor.
Metaphor or not, that's not your brain.
It's just an egg.
Una cerveza para mí. My egg is my brain.
Can I at least have some bacon, maybe some sausage with that egg, though?
Oh, I want some bacon.
I want crepes.
Have some bacon and pancakes with that egg.
I'll take it with cheese.
Extra large brown cage-free eggs.
Can I have your brain with cakes?
A sausage and a little toast and potato.
That would be great.
Does it have antibiotics?
I don't know, man. I'm not good at this shit.
Well, they got to be able to resist some diseases.
You resist the disease.
Has it got any hormones?
Maybe. It's cage free.
Vegetarian?
Maybe.
Are they vegan?
No, I eat steak.
Never apologize and never explain.
Never apologize.
Never apologize and never explain.